Well, well, well. Good evening, good evening, good evening to the loyal opposition in Barbados. Good evening to the citizens of Barbados. Good evening to all of you wonderful people that are joining us again this Monday evening. Again, my privilege and my honor to co-host this segment of the Marcia Week Show with Marcia and her her very special guests. They are a group of very special people. And I trust you're picking me up okay. If you could just let me know for sure that you're hearing me well. I want to be sure that you don't miss anything this evening, just to be sure that you're picking me up, and just give me a notification there in your comments that you're hearing okay and I am doing all right here in Barbados. But a real joy to welcome all of you. Oh my goodness. Let me see now if I could just back up a little bit here. Now you confirm for me, because I'm waiting for a couple of comments that will tell me that you're hearing me all right, loud and clear. Thank you, Victorious Queen. Thank you so very much. My goodness, I have so many windows open up in front of me, trying just to keep pace with you all. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Carolyn Cadogan. Welcome to all of you. I saw somebody up early from the United Kingdom. Oh my goodness. And Pauline from Maryland. Sir Alfred, my faithful friend from New York City. Oh my goodness, Sir Alfred, welcome to the show again tonight. Rose 511. Yes, Trisha did so well. We'll get to that during the show, I believe. Adrian X, welcome again. Good to see you. Cecilia Miller, Dalton Spencer. Dalton, great to see you. Good evening, sir. My goodness, Riem 6070, Sandra Franklin, Pamela Edwards, all of you watching from St. Lucia. Carolyn Wilkinson, you're watching from St. Lucia. Carolyn, in case you didn't know it, my wife is St. Lucian. Yes, from Forestier. She is a Gajadar or Gajadar, depending on how you pronounce it. But it's so nice to have you with us again tonight. I don't know if it's the first time you're joining us, but a pleasure. Good evening, Pauline, to all of you. I think Marcy does this so much better than me because there's so many of you. CG, good night to you as well. Victorious Queen, David, FX Trading, BB, good night to you as well, Sir Sharon, and David, and that's Sharon. Oh, I'm taking that to be an O, Sharon. Mervyn Marius, good evening to you as well. Pleasure to have you with us again tonight. An honor for me to be able to share this platform with you. A real honor to be able to share it with people like Kemar Stewart and Glenn Murray, Maxine McLean, and Castle Franklin. I am not ashamed to be associated with these persons, because we're trying to do what we believe is the right thing for the benefit of our country, and that is by informing and indicating to people what is happening in our country, and demanding of the government the thing that they said they were going to be committed to. That is transparency and accountability and doing the right thing. But particularly those first two, of course, we're still waiting for the integrity legislation to pass. I don't care what anybody tells me. You don't need to have integrity legislation passed for the people of Barbados to know your assets. It doesn't have to be put in the hand of the cabinet secretary or the parliamentary staff. You can come out and you can put out there, call a press conference, put it out there, let the people see what you have gone into parliament with and what you're going to be coming out with parliament. You don't need legislation. Man, come on. They demand that of us, ministers in the church. Want to see what we get, want to see what we have, what we own. We don't wait or can't wait for legislative assembly. We have to come out and tell the people, and many of us have been chastised for doing it. But when it comes to politicians, we don't want to chastise them for not placing their assets that they possess when they entered parliament. You do not have to wait for legislation to do that. I don't care who it is, government, BLP, DLP, RPQ, I don't care who it is. You don't have to wait for legislation to do that. You could put that out there in the media. You could call a press briefing, a press conference. You can let the members of your parliamentary group tell the people, place before them and let them know. So don't come to me with that stupid talk about waiting for the legislation. All during the campaign, you campaigned with one of the major planks of your campaign was that you were going to have integrity legislation, and you told the people you already had it ready before you even won the election. So there was no reason. Now, 5 years on, that's from 2018. 5 years on, 8 and 5, I think, is oh, they're 6 years on, because 8 and 6 is 14. I think that's what my mother taught me back in school. 8 and 6 is 14. So 6 years on, you still have not revealed to the people of Barbados how much you went into Parliament. Not one of you have done it. And I'm disappointed in some of you, because some of you ought to know better. Some of you ought to know better. You should have pressed the matter. You should have ensured that the Prime Minister follows through with what she, as the leader of the Barbados Labour Party, committed herself and the party to. And here we are 6 years later, and we do not know what a single member of Parliament went into Parliament possessing, and we won't know what they leave Parliament possessing. We have no comparison to show, because we have an idea of how it should look. I mean, nobody's going to, if you have legitimately invested in things, taken your salary and invested in things, that's fine. But if in terms of the integrity legislation, as a matter of fact, as far as I'm concerned, if they had any intestinal fortitude, they could set up an integrity commission or integrity committee, or whatever you want to call it, have some of the what we would call some independent entities, maybe a couple of authentic, legitimate ministers of religion who have proper integrity. Okay, proper integrity. I'm talking about no reverends that have been scandalized and all of this foolishness coming off of a television station and finding themselves. I'm not talking about that kind of an individual. That I will leave that individual out altogether. But I'm talking about, we have retired teachers, retired bankers, retired lawyers, retired judges. We have persons who are retired from the private sector, reputable people who have retired, and I can call names, but I'm not going to do that. Yes, Harry, can I agree with you? We need a freedom of information legislation here in Barbados, like they have in the United States, where they have to reveal things. They have to reveal things under that legislation. We need that here in Barbados. So I am not going to be accepting any excuses for not revealing what your status was going in. They demanded of, if I went in, I would have to tell them what my status was, and even in ministry, people demand of us as pastors every year. We have to have a business meeting. We have to tell the congregation what has been earned. The congregation knows what we receive, and all these different kinds of things. And even sometimes from what I receive in my CD sales, yes, I have a CD, and I got a picture of that one there, because many of you all know I do sing, and I do have a CD. And if you are interested, you get in touch with Marcy, and she will let me know, and I will be in touch with you. But anyhow, that's just the sponsors, a word from our sponsors. Okay. Anyhow, so I want to hear. I want to hear what the assets were when they went in. Don't tell me anything about legislation to reveal that. That is foolishness. That is foolishness. I'm not accepting that. But that being as it is, there is a lot that is happening, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this movement. Now, I sent a message to Dave this evening. I said to Dave, I'm just going to wait until it gets up to 250 people, and then I'm going to play the national anthem, because we would have a number of persons on. But I see it's up to 495 and rising very quickly. So permit me, if I may, if it's okay with you all in the loyal opposition, if I start the program, really kick the program off with the national anthem of Barbados. All right. So let's do it as we have been doing it for the past several nights, for the past several shows. I'm just trying to pull it up here on my computer. Oh, there we are. Let's have it, and let's begin on the right foot. Okay. So here we go. The national anthem of Barbados. When Amen, amen. Oh my goodness. So I tell you, what a tremendous national anthem we have there. And listen, I want to show you how this administration in its actions betrays our very national anthem. We loyal sons and daughters all do hereby make it known. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. We write our names on history's page with expectations great, strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. That is what we do. We loyal sons and daughters all do hereby make it known. These fields and hills beyond recall are the consultant's own. No, are now our very own. It does not belong to the World Health Organization. It does not belong to the World Economic Forum. It does not belong to the United Nations. It belongs to the people of Barbados. And that is why I say that this administration actually does not do credit to the very national anthem that we sing. We talk about the Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years, with him still on the people's side. We have no doubts or fit. Listen to it. With him still on the people's side, not the Labour Party, a Democratic Labour Party or Barbados Labour Party, the people's side. We have no doubts or fears. Okay, upward and onward we shall go, inspired, exalted, free, and greater will this nation grow in strength and unity. Why? Because the Lord has been the people's guide, not the guide of a Democratic Party or a Labour Party or APP, the people's guide, the guide of the nation. That's what we are about. And in order to do credit, and as a matter of fact, that is one of the things that what it is, the national anthem, the national motto. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend its honor, and to do credit to my nation wherever I go, to uphold and defend its honor. If that is the case, why are we having all these consultants paying millions of dollars out to them when we have well qualified people in this country? You don't need accountants. We have some of the top accountants in this country. Look, I have traveled the length and breadth of the Caribbean, and I can tell you, Barbadian professional people are respected through the Caribbean. I travel regularly for the last 19 years to the Cayman Islands, and Barbadians are holding some of the top positions. They're teachers, police officers. We are respected. Why can't we respect our very own? But instead of that, we go and we hire. Let me see what this is again. We hire a company, an organization, a company. Allegedly, I have to be very parliamentary. Allegedly, we hire a company called White Oaks, which all of the international financial agencies and economic gurus question why we did that, and the kind of fees that we have been paying out to them. 27 million US dollars or 54 million Barbados dollars, and paying them what I think is 100 and the CEO is paid $3,000 a month, paid overseas, has no work permit, and the person in charge is, I understand, located in South Africa. What are we saying to the people of our country? What are we saying to our young people when we play a national anthem that speaks about the pride and industry of our country, and we talk about how we are as much as 98% literacy rate in this country, yet we are reaching outside to people to bring them in here. And if the Prime Minister wants to set the example, and I'm going to use her as an example tonight, just to show you how good Barbadians are. We are being told that everybody outside wants her to come and speak. Well, she's a Barbadian. So why are we importing people into our country when our country can produce what they say is a person who can speak on the international platform in the manners that she does? And I am not even going to get into those aspects at all. All I'm saying is that if Barbados can produce persons, we have produced a Formula 3 champion in the name of Mr. Maloney. I can't remember his first name right now. His father used to race at Bushy Park in our heyday. A Formula 3 champion, winning Formula 3 races. All right. We have produced athletes. I know people only major or only focus on Rihanna. I am not going to talk about Rihanna because there are a lot of people doing a lot for Barbados other than her. David Simpson, Ward Simpson, Sir Kiffin Simpson's son, is the CEO of GOVT. GOVT is the largest international Christian television network on the planet. And he is the CEO of GOVT. All right, so Barbados is producing superb people. We are producing superb athletes, superb musicians, superb artists, superb singers, superb ministers. Our ministers are in demand. Very shortly, one of my colleagues is going to be traveling to the United Kingdom to be one of the main speakers in a conference in the UK. Why are we importing people to tell us how to run our country? Don't we have financial gurus in this nation that can tell the government, advise the government, consult with the government, help the government? We have economists. Not always agree with all of them, but we have economists that are lecturing at the University of West Indies, the premier university of the Caribbean, and we do not trust their judgments and assessments. We are going outside because that has been the colonial mentality that we have been raised with. That is ingrained in our psyche that has to change, where we feel that anything produced in Barbados is not good. I don't want to get into the matter of color prejudice, okay? It is a matter of the nation. White or black or pink, polka dot, I don't care. At the bottom end of it all, the point I'm making is that Barbados has produced people in cricket: Sir Garfield Sobers, Gordon Greenidge, Desmond Haynes, Charles Griffith, Wesley Hall, still rated among the best, the greatest in cricket in the world. And we are importing people to tell us how to run our country, to tell us how to set up an economy. That is disingenuous, to say the least. And that is my position. I'm not entertaining this foolishness that I'm hearing, with we having consultants that we're paying fortunes to. And then here's the thing. Then we want to turn around if we have a local consultant and pay them pittance. Pay them. You think a local consultant could get $27 million for consulting with the government for economic restructuring program? In which life? You wouldn't hear that. But we're gonna, you see, but that is the what they call the neo-colonialism. Let me see if I can find it here, because I make some notes as I'm going along, because sometimes they got big words that people does call, and I does not know what they does mean, So I know. Don't tell my mother I spoke publicly like that. But these neocolonialism that is we are now colonized by the economic people of the world, and all of a sudden we don't value what we produce in this country. That is horrible. That is horrible. Yeah, I know. No, we apparently that's what they think, Daniel, that we don't have any idea how to run Barbados. And yet all other countries in the Caribbean look to Barbados for an example, look to Barbados to see what Barbados is doing, and then follow suit to what Barbados is doing. At least that's how it used to be. That's how it used to be. All right. And I'm not going to say any more on that. I think I've said enough on it. But as far as I'm concerned, no, Carlton, don't come to me with that. This is a matter of promoting. And I said it very early in the show. I am not talking about color prejudice. We have, if Mr. Maloney is a Barbadian, he could be white, blue, black, or polka dots. He's a Barbadian. We need to get out of this crap. I am tired of it. I am very, very tired of it. Barbadians are deserving to be treated as Barbadians regardless of their color. If they're doing well and if they're doing something legitimate, let us celebrate them. If it is an athlete and the athlete is pink, then celebrate the athlete. If it's the singer, if it is the musician, if it's the car driver, if it's the cricketer, celebrate them. Don't come to me with this color prejudice thing, because as far as I'm concerned, Jesus Christ is colorblind. He don't see black, white, pink, or polka dot. If you don't don't give your life to the Lord, you're gone. You don't care what color you are. Let me get this clear. All right, but I am not going to get any religious talk. I might get too far up in there and things. So don't bring this thing of color to me. We have to get that out of our psyche, because that's what's been riveted into our psyche. If they're from Africa, we should celebrate them. If they're from Europe, we should. If their history is from Europe, they should celebrate them. And incidentally, let me just make the point that we are a product today in this country. We are a product of an interconnection between Europe and Africa. We can't get away with that. My father's background is Irish, and I know a number of you all that could talk about that too. So we can't just look at Africa. We have to look at the rest of the world that we became a part of, whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not, we became a part of it through all of the intersexual involvement and all of it. Okay, so please don't come to me with that at all. Right? The people in this country who are Barbadians have a right to be in parliament. They have a right to represent the people regardless of their color. If they subscribe to legitimate means, they subscribe to the development of this country, that is what we should be doing. So please, not to me. You can carry it to anybody, carry it to Mr. Commissaire or anybody else. Don't bring it to me. Okay? If we are here and we are being taken advantage of, let me remind you, there has never been in this country since independence a white government. There's never been a white government, but there has been a massa government. That is the kind of governments that we have had down through the past several years. I call it a massa government because they perpetuated even up until now. Even up until now, we got this mentality that if it from Barbados, it isn't good enough. It isn't good enough. Well, my goodness, man, I am hailed, and I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but to tell me a musician, which I am, is one of the best to play his own instrument. But I am hailed as one of the best tenor singers that people have heard. When I travel to the States and sing, people are amazed. When I travel to Canada, they are amazed. When I go to the different countries of the Caribbean, they're amazed. When I go to South America, they're amazed. I'm a Barbadian, and I promote Barbados. That is where I come from. It doesn't matter what the color of my skin is. When you cut it, all of us bleed red. And that's the end of the story on that matter with me. So don't bring it up anymore. Leave it out. When I on this show, leave that matter out altogether, because you're not going to get me on your side where that is concerned. But I want to stay focused. I am talking about the value of what we produce in this country. That is what I'm talking about. And if we are good enough for the rest of the world, why are we not good enough for our own people right here in Barbados? Why are we not good enough? Why are our economic individuals, why are our accountants, why are our financial people who head the largest banks in this country? I know a lady, I won't call her name, a fine Christian young, I would have to call a young lady. If I called her name, she'd probably be flattered to hear me say it. But she's one of the heads of the largest banking institution in one of the largest banking institutions in the world that is in the Caribbean. And she's a Barbadian. Come on, folk. If we can raise these kind of people in our country, why do we need to pay $54 million to a couple of consultants to come into the country to tell us what we are quite capable of doing ourselves and can't do it as good as we can do it? Don't have a sense of empathy with the people in this country. The only thing they see us in Barbados as is dollars and cents. That is the only thing they see. They have no heart, if you want to call it that. They have no heart for the people of this country. That is why you can find decisions being made that will send home thousands of people, because we are bending our knee again to a neo-colonial government in the name of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, both of which are significantly funded by the US government, who are holding a gun to the head of people across the world in terms of a financial gun. If they don't implement certain legislation, you don't get no money. And nobody can argue that with me. Please don't try that. You know, I heard it said that we are on this show and we are marching and we don't But Carson, that is entirely up to them. When we started the program in Independence Square, the Muslims were there, okay, and it's entirely up to them. And if there are Barbadians, then there are Barbadians. That is all. That is, Adrian. That is the problem right there. You're right. Neocolonialism is what's killing this country. We are serving under a new colonial master. We talk about having a republic. What republic? What republic have we got? We don't have no republic. We are being dictated to. And the government can talk till the cows come home. Everybody knows that the man who pays the piper, plays the tune. And as the good book says, the borrower is servant of the lender. So if you want our money, this is what has to happen. And don't talk foolishness to us. We're not stupid. We're not stupid. We're being accused of coming on this show and marching and giving people misinformation. All right, wait, hold a second. We were being told, all right, that let me get it up. Let me get it up here quickly. Don't rush me. Give me a break. Give me a break. All right. We're being told that we are spreading misinformation concerning the treatments. Now, I know the word I can't use on this program, and I want to protect Marcia Weeks' program, so I'm not going to use the word. But we were being told that we were feeding people false information in this country concerning the treatments for the pandemic that we had. Well, let me read something for you that was sent to me actually a little after I spoke on Saturday morning. And it says this, and I quote, right, let me pull up the report. The report is taken from Becker News. Of course, they will tell you that that's not a reputable media. Only CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times, they're the only reputable one. They're the biggest liars we have ever had to deal with during the pandemic, and the biggest liars America ever had to deal with during the presidential election, and they're the biggest liars continuing up to this very day. Biggest liars, along with the present government. Listen to this. The largest, okay, hold on. The 100% safe and effective lie about the COVID mRNA treatments is officially dead. The largest multinational study of COVID-19 treatment, which included over 100 million treated people, confirmed previously established correlations between the treatments and an elevated risk of specific side effects such as myocarditis and Guillain-Barré syndrome. The study was carried out by the Global COVID Treatment Safety Initiative and included 99,068,901 treated people from 8 countries: Argentina, Australia, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, New Zealand, and Scotland. I am going to stop there. All I am doing here is reading for you what the information that is tabulated and correlated from international organizations with who have done the studies. And we are being told we're walking around telling people misinformation and telling them lies. Women's capacity to bear children has been affected. We have the evidence. Women's menstrual cycles have been affected. There are women who have lost their children. I can't remember what they call it. You ladies will put it in the chat for me before I get too far. Have lost their children and now can't have. Some women can't have. And it's not because of anything to do with them. It has been traced directly to the treatment. Okay, so please don't come telling me crap about misinformation. The people who have been at the head of the misinformation in this country has been the Ministry of Health, the Chief Medical Officer, and the government of Barbados. They have been the people who have been at the head of misinformation and lies in this country. Let me read something else to you. Hold on a minute, because people think we are stupid. I see Mr. Franklin is in the back office, in the back room. I just making sure he's ready to come on, Caswell, when you're ready to come on, give me a thumbs up and let me know. My goodness, I haven't called enough names for you all tonight, but welcome to all of you. Love all of you. Thank you so very, very, very much for your support behind not only the show, but the marches, everything. And listen, we're going to do some clips tonight, God willing, some pictures. We're going to show you some pictures of the march where thousands have here. Here you see the leader of the opposition who chose to join us. We did not ask him. We asked if he was going to come, and he chose of his own accord to come. We have never prevented on this show or in the march a single member of government, a single member of parliament from marching with us on principle and on matters that are non-partisan. We have never prevented them from doing it. As a matter of fact, I have personally issued an invitation to any member of the government party, any member of the cabinet, any member of the government's parliamentary group to join us here on the show and take the questions from the people of this country directly, not their senator, not through their parliamentary. Take it directly from them. You hold your own constituency meetings, and the brutal frank truth is that people are afraid to come to your meetings to raise questions with you because they see how you function. They see that you function like a bully, like a McGuffey, how you talk. Look at how you carried on in Parliament. Look at how you carried on the leader of the opposition and told all the nasty stories and lies about him, and he refused to sit in there. You're talking nonsense. I wouldn't sit in it either if I knew that what you were saying about me was a blatant lie. I would get up and walk out. And incidentally, that is exactly what the current government did with the last administration. They got up and walked out when Mr. Arthur was supposed to speak. He was on a listing, a schedule to speak. The change of schedule did not inform him. He was not in the house at the time. And when he got into the house and attempted to speak, they refused his parliamentary right to speak. And the whole opposition got up and walked out. So don't get on as though Mr. Thorne has done the dishonorable thing to get up and walk out of the house. Please don't let's get them kind of attitudes. Dave, I don't know. Dave, is this a video? It looks like a video that you have queued up here. And I believe it must be a short clip of the opposition. Let him speak.
On your fear. Tell your friends that it is a spirit of fear that will defeat us. Because this government is not strong enough to defeat us. Because we are not afraid. We are not afraid. This is a government that has thrived on the fear of people in this country. And a time has come when we don't come with a spirit of fear.
That's why we're here. We're not afraid, man.
We don't come with a spirit of fear. And it is because we are not afraid, and it is because you have had the courage to protest, to march, to hold your Facebook post, to distribute your protests. You've been able to do that because I come this morning recognize
Well, we seem to be having a little challenge there, Dave, with the audio.
Methodists, Rastafari brethren, who subscribe to the scriptures as well. And Isaiah 40:31. Yep. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. We will mount up with wings like eagles. We will run and not be weary. We will walk like this morning and not grow faint, because we are not afraid. And this government, as I said before, is a government that is thriving on your fear. Tell your friends that it is a spirit of fear that will defeat us, because this government is not strong enough to defeat us, because we are not afraid.
Thank you, Mr. Thorne. Thank you, Mr. Thorne. We are not afraid. Good evening, Mr. Caswell Franklin. Good evening, sir. So good to have you on the show with us tonight. How are you,
Well,
sir? Tell us, how are you doing
good
today?
evening, and thanks for having me again. I see you're in red, but I wouldn't hold that against you. Good night to everybody tuning on the show. I'm, I'm happy to be here, and I'll be here as long as you want me.
Well, you'll be here for not as long as I want you. You'll be here as long as the good Lord wants you here, my friend, because when he don't want you anymore, he takes you home.
Yeah, well, but
So
that
you,
being
as
the
long as you
ultimate,
have life, as
yes,
long as you have life and breath.
and strength,
That's right. That's right.
you know.
But Caswell, I was addressing. I got a couple of messages. I know you're on to deal with a couple of other subjects, but I was addressing the matter. That's really was on my heart this evening as to what we develop in this country, the excellence that we have developed in this country, and the fact that for what we may feel, we have developed to the level where a Barbadian prime minister is being respected and hallowed all over the world as a Barbadian. But when it comes to what we have to do for Barbados here at home, we are bringing in people from overseas because it would appear that our people are not good enough. They're good enough to be bosses at cricket. They're good enough to be bosses at singing. They're good enough to be bosses at art. They're good enough to be bosses at athletics. They're good enough to be bosses even at cybercrime and all of these. We have brilliant, brilliant people, Caswell, in this country. People who are in demand around the world. People want us. Nurses, people want us. I mean, I know you have family, I believe, that are working overseas, and teachers, police officers. They want, because they know we are people of excellence, and yet we are spending millions of dollars bringing people in. And here's the thing: we will not pay our own local people that kind of money.
Because it's an inferiority complex that we have. We always feel that people from outside of Barbados are better than us. And this is a government that encourages that type of outlook, that tells people, you remember recently when they were talking about the hospital, and so they said we don't have nobody good enough. We've been
I didn't know.
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know that issue the APB for you guys.
No, as a matter of fact, they want me for sure. I mean, the police, because several of them stopped me and asked me questions. So easily you're right, but not the kind of way that people think police want you, But we have this inferiority complex. We feel that if it comes from overseas,
Yes.
it is better. But let me tell you, let me start with nurses. Our nurses are among the best trained nurses anywhere in the world. And I always accuse the government that they make it difficult, more difficult for nurses to pass. And the reason that they said, that you're dealing with people's lives, if you had a doctor that he was getting 50%, that means he's going to kill 50% of his patients. That is the kind of reasoning we use. So the pass mark is high. Then, because they want us to be excellent, they want the nurses to be excellent, and it's recognized all over the world. People, when they get Barbadian nurses, want to hold on to them and pay them fantastic salaries. I have a friend who was a recruiter for nurses in New York. I didn't know that until one day I saw the hospital, and I'm not the hospital, at the airport, and she said to me, "Well, Caswell, I know you got some public nurses, and I want some." And she did get a few of them, because some of those nurses said, we are not going back to work under these conditions. Somebody's talking about nurses, police, teachers, and stuff. Look, we've had nurses all over the world, police all through the islands. I went to Bermuda a number of years ago, and I brought up on a lot of my friends that went to school with me, were the same class with me, were policemen in Bermuda. And then eventually some of them move on and did other work, trading on the stock exchange and that kind of thing. But Bajans go out there and excel everywhere they go. You know, are you going to tell me that Barbadians are not good enough to work in Barbados? And you're going to go and bring people? You're going to bring your friends and pay them a bunch of money. Like, for instance, I don't know who the friends at White Oak were, who were their friends. But they were in Barbados before the hat dropped. People said the drop of a hat. But they were here before the hat dropped. As soon as they got the results, they were calling people telling them to come to Barbados and rob Barbadians. 5 days into a government, and you were able to look through the affairs of Barbados, know that we needed these people, no consultation with anybody, bam, and you bring somebody out to rip us off. And that is what the people you want to bring, because they weren't making the money anywhere else. Because I could tell people, I went on the company house in England, and they made 0.00 pounds the 2 years prior to coming to Barbados. They weren't making any money. They only had an office. The thing, nobody used to go in it, couldn't work. And then you can come and tell me, oh, these are the high flyers. No, they're not high flyers. You're lying to us and giving your friends money. Who friends are I don't know? Or who convinced the Prime Minister to bring them? Because I don't think the Prime Minister knew them. Or the Prime Minister knew anything about them, because they were not known internationally.
And
right?
not only not known internationally, but some of the people who did know them would not have recommended them and thought that we were ripped off. That's the bottom line.
What? Over the years, as a little boy, I went to St. Lucia in the 76, 77 around there, and I brought up on acting permanent secretaries, Barbadians, senior policemen, Barbadians, deputy commissioner, Barbadians, all Barbadians. A lot of them, mind you, all of them were acting, though they didn't appoint them to the service down there, and I don't understand why. But they were using Barbadians. We had Barbadians all over. When I was a boy growing up, Barbadians were recruited to go down the islands and teach. Many of our somebody tell me immigration department now has a consultant effective the 1st of March. The 1st of March. What we want immigration consultant to do, I hope it isn't the same consultant that they retired and brought back as a consultant. You know,
well, you know,
but that's another story for another time.
Caswell, our president, Sandra Mason, she's a Barbadian,
judge
right?
In the OAS, yes.
But not only a judge, wasn't she? What was it? His in Belize? Wasn't she the attorney general or something like that, or some high?
I don't think so. But the same.
She held a very high position in the legal aspect of Belize, and then I have been in the Cayman Islands, where the Prime Minister's father has been into the Cayman Islands on several occasions to represent persons in the Cayman Islands, to the best of my knowledge. I have run into them.
He was also Chief Justice of Belize.
Yeah, that is correct. So it's he that was Chief Justice of Belize, not Sandra Mason. My apologies.
He was Chief Justice of Belize.
Yeah, and
so
he's
you are
a
telling me that
Barbadian.
Barbadians are not going to, unless they're your family? Huh? No, this is nonsense. We had teachers all over the years, but there was a boy growing up. Teachers used to leave Barbados and go, and before then, we had a lot of Barbadians working. Are you going to tell me that Barbadians are no good? So pray tell me, why do we try to make Barbadians less than what they can be? You try to keep them down. You try to keep them servile. You try to keep them mendicant. That is what this Barbados Labour Party administration has been doing to Barbadians, keeping them begging, keeping them the hands out, giving them just only enough money to buy ramen and a few other little things, and nothing more. Don't even give them pay the national insurance contributions, because the day you get sick, you still got to go back to the same politician and beg because you can't work and need a handout. See, they believe that if you keep them mendicant, you will keep them loyal, because if people got to come back begging for you, keep it as beggars. You know, this is not good enough. And they try to justify it. That's the problem I have, you know.
Not in 2024.
We have excellent people but look, don't let me even stick to Barbados. We got people in the Caribbean who can come here. So when you go out there and get people from England, and we should not be getting people from England because of our colonial past, because of the way they treat us when we were a colony. Look, I can give you an example now. Do you know that every police constable qualifies to be the commissioner of police? Because you want to know why? When they had the British Barbados was British colony, they set it up in such a way that the commissioner can come from England. He should be all army officer with no qualifications at all. So you didn't have to have qualifications to be commissioner of police. Now what they do, they say, okay, well, even though it is not required, it is preferable if you have these things. But the law does not require the commissioner of police to have anything other than baptism and birth. But a constable got 5 CXC. So you see, it was skewed toward bringing somebody from England and putting. When you were a little boy, they always had some white commissioner of police. It's only when a white commissioner of police, he was captain, this body or captain, somebody from England who was a retired army officer. That is how they treated us, the chief justices, right? The chief justices. But let me get some things to get I want to talk about, because I have been told today that I have been speaking up and advising people in the private sector about severance pay and things that don't concern civil servants. And a few of them tell me that they need to hear from me about a lot of things that have been happening, because they want, and I'm going to speak specifically on the questions that were asked of me. All right, so if you see me skipping about the place, it is that I am not doing a full presentation, just answering questions. All right. And some of the words that come to hand right now is the problem that you see going on in the prisons. And people will say, it ain't me, I the only helping so and so. He's my senior and he tell me to do X and I do it. That is not an excuse. According to the Code of Conduct and Ethics of the Public Service that was passed in Parliament in 2007, it became effective the last day of 2007, the 31st of December 2007. It was one of the last pieces of legislation that the Owen Arthur government brought before Parliament. And let me tell you what it says. It says here, paragraph 11 of the Code of Conduct and Ethics. I'm going to read 11 and I'm going to read 12 for you. Right? Probably even 13 too. It says, where an officer believes that he is being required to act in a way that is A, is illegal, improper, or unethical. B, is in breach of an accepted convention or professional code. C, may involve possible maladministration or is otherwise inconsistent with this code, the officer shall report the matter in accordance with the procedure laid down in the appropriate guidelines or rules of conduct for that officer's ministry or department, or in accordance with the provisions of the relevant law. Now, they have not, since 2007, no administration has put guidelines in place, but you can still report them to the police. You can still report the head of the department and tell that this is what's going on. So you can't say, I don't know, but it goes on, it says, on paragraph 12, that was 11.1 that I read, all right? And it goes on to say, an officer shall report to his head of department, or where the matter involves the head of the department, the head of the public service. So if your head of department is requiring you to do something that is improper, illegal, immoral, or whatever else, you have options. I know of one case where a court martial, he reported his boss because he perjured himself in an affidavit. Right? Mind you, they punished the same officer for doing it because that fellow had friends, but he was following the law. Right? And he was acting and they took him down. A fellow called Wiseman. But let me go on. It says, where an officer has reported a matter referred to in paragraph 11, what I just read, in accordance with the relevant procedures and believes that the response does not represent a reasonable response to the grounds of his concern, the officer may report the matter in writing to the Service Commission. So you have options. You cannot get away by saying, "Oh, I tell somebody and they do nothing." You gotta do something about it, because I read 11 and then 12, 11:1, and I read 12 to go back to 11:2, because it says, an officer shall report his head of the department or where the matters revolves head of the department to head of public service. A. Evidence of any criminal or unlawful activity by others in, in accordance with the relevant procedures, and B. Instances of breaches of this code of which he becomes aware. So if you know one of your colleagues is stealing, like they're doing in the prison, you can't say, "Well, I can turn my head to it. I'm not interested because I ain't getting involved." You are involved, you know, and you can be dismissed from the public service for not reporting criminal activity of your colleagues. So I've heard some prison officers today telling me that they weren't involved, but they know what was happening. If they know what's happening, they are liable as well.
They're complicit.
You have to report it. You have to report. As a matter of fact, that is not only in the public service, you know, even in the private sector. If your employer called you and said, and said, "Well, look, you see so and so thief," and you said, "I ain't got nothing to say," but he's aware that you, for me, he can fire you as well, because I don't have any trust in you anymore, because you would cause my company to go down through the chute. So you have, and even in the private sector, if you see people thieving, you have to report it to your boss. But we have it in legislation, in writing. And people are getting away with it. The prison is rife with corruption and destruction. You know, I want, that's one area that I was called upon and asked to deal with tonight. So I hopefully I can I dealt with it satisfactorily. And I want to go back now to the paragraph 5 and 6. People think that being a civil servant is easy. It is not easy if you follow the rules, or if the rules are applied. Like, for instance, you cannot lie. But let me read it for you. It's, what is an offense in the public service? It says, officers, 5C, in the same code of conduct and ethics, officers shall, and it goes on A, B, C, not deceive or knowingly mislead ministers, parliament, permanent secretaries, or the public. So if the members of the public come to you and you lie to them, you can be dismissed from the public service. It is as serious as that. There's no place else in the world where you can, except the United States, where you can get locked up for lying to the federal officers. If you lie to the public, you can be dismissed from the public service. So I'm urging public officers, tell the truth. That person who is stealing, he's not only stealing from the department, he's stealing from you too, because then you got to pay taxes to put it back. So he's stealing from you. So when you, if you have knowledge of people who's doing wrong things that you know is illegal, you have to report them in the public service.
Well, maybe, Caswell, if I may interject here, maybe they're not doing it because that's what's being demonstrated at higher levels. You know, there's
yes.
there's a I think it's Psalm 33 that talks about the oil that runs down Aaron's beard. You know, you pour the oil on the head, and so it runs all the way down. No, that's a good oil. You know, that's a good anointing. But whatever you see happen at the head, if you see it happening low down, it's probably because they see it happening higher up. That's all I'm trying to say.
That is very true. But there are ways. But since they amended the Constitution in 1974, Barber thought he was doing a good thing because the public service was controlled by the lodges. I talk about lodge school. I talk about lodges, these fraternities, where if you were in a fraternity and you go and join up, then FAS will find a job for you. And it was usually in public service. And a lot of corruption was happening. So Barrow decided, well, he will take responsibility for recruiting temporary people in the public service. And he had to be consulted on the appointment of heads of departments and deputy heads, permanent secretaries, and deputy permanent secretaries. All right, that was done because the big boys used to, in the lodges, used to become the heads of departments and stuff. You know, yeah, very few people became a permanent secretary or something like that in those days, unless you had some sort of connections in the lodges. And so they tried, the Barrow was trying to fix that. He didn't fix it. What he did, he lost the government. And Tom Adams, who campaigned against those measures, so he walked into the government house. He said he can repeal them when he become the prime minister and all kind of stuff. But when he sat down and studied them, Tom then started to use those same provisions with great effect. He was able then to bring people into the public service, including me. Because he then had that power, right? So I was a beneficiary, but I was not one of the people who went and do wrong things, because I remember when they tried to bribe me, I reported. And he praised me in the House of Assembly one day. I was very pleased to hear my being mentioned in the House for reporting a bribe. I was an immigration officer. Immigration officers were bribed for years. But let me go on to answer the question. You know, when the people at the top do something wrong, the permanent secretary is supposed to let the minister know where he's going wrong. But because the prime minister makes appointments, the prime minister have misinterpreted the constitution to mean that the prime minister decides who becomes the permanent secretary, because that's what happens now. It only says consult. The commission can consult with the prime minister. But we have interpreted that to mean consultations that the prime minister will make the decision as who will be a permanent secretary, who will be a deputy permanent secretary, who will be head of department, who will be a deputy head of department. And you know that even principals of secondary schools are heads of department. So even then, that's why we had to wait till the day before, because the prime minister is always traveling. So you had time to go and do the right thing. So we had all frustration because the prime minister gets involved in things that she should not be involved in. But it says here, where a permanent secretary disagrees with a minister on a matter involving a decision by a minister or by the cabinet, the permanent secretary shall place on record his disagreement with any decision or proposed course of action which the permanent secretary finds difficult to defend, or which he regards as inconsistent with his obligations to see that the administration of his department is carried out with due regard to the propriety of the proposed course of action, and he shall set out the reasons for his disagreement. It says here also, where the minister adheres to the decision, the minister shall communicate that decision in writing to the permanent secretary, who shall carry out the decision. Okay, or take decision to effect. So if the permanent secretary disagrees, permanent secretary is supposed to write the minister and say, I don't agree. The minister can say, look, I don't care if you agree or not. I, minister of so-and-so, direct you to do so-and-so, and then the permanent secretary must do so. But we don't have that. Permanent secretaries don't challenge ministers and tell ministers where they're wrong. That is very rare. I'm not telling you, rare as hen's teeth. It don't happen. So the rules are there. They're just not followed, because if you tell a minister that he's wrong, because we had a case here recently where a particular minister liked to have a special blend of coffee. It cost $1,000. And the acting permanent secretary said, no. Acting permanent secretary get transferred. $1,000 for coffee. If you want that kind of coffee, go and buy it yourself. You understand? But so permanent secretaries are afraid, especially if you're acting, because if you're acting, they take you down. And what the permanent secretaries fail to understand, that they have rights, because if you are acting in the post for a year, the Public Service Act says that no established post should remain vacant for more than a year. That's Section 1311. And I can claim that I have a legitimate right to be expectation to be in that post, because it should not be vacant for more than a year. But you got me there acting for more than a year. The post is vacant and I'm acting. You can't go and text somebody and put them in it now. I take you to court. It happens all over the place. We have people who have been in post for 10 years and more, when the law says you can't go them there for more than a year. But nobody challenges it because everybody is afraid. And hopefully they're just, and then what happens, when they get taken down, they get vexed and retire, because your pension is based on the last 3 years, the last 36 months pay. So if you are working at permanent secretary level and you got your 3 years as permanent secretary, and then they take you down and put you as deputy, for each month that you remain as a deputy, your pension entitlements go down until you don't get the pension at permanent secretary level anymore. So they get vexed and retire. So that is the way. That's why you see some teachers, when they were principals and they didn't get the job, they take them down. They retired immediately to preserve the value of their pension. So, and that is all ministerial interference in things that the minister should not be involved in. Right? Also, I want to point out to you what Section 8 of the Act says. Section 8 of the Public Service
I can
Act.
ask you a quick question, Caswell.
Sure, please, go ahead.
All this material you're reading from, just for the benefit of the persons who may be viewing with us, where can it be obtained?
I will go and email it to you.
No, I mean the
no.
the
What
books
I'm
that
saying
you're
to you
reading
is
from.
that you could go online and see if you find it, because it used to be obtainable at the printery, but they don't give the printery any money to buy paper now, so you can't go and buy them. They cut out the estimates the money for paper at a printery.
Yeah, because I
So
remember at one time
printery don't have paper.
Yeah, I remember one time you could have gone there and got the
You go on the
customs and
government
excise
printery and you would
tax
get
and
anything,
stuff,
any
yeah.
act that they was passed. You can't get them now, because I went to get some to do a training course, because they want to train some people rather than me out here keeping us all the time. I want somebody else to come along and do it too.
Okay,
And I
okay.
bet to source the material to do it, because I like paper. I don't like the screens. I like paper. And then they
So
tell me, well,
maybe-
come back next week, and they will do thing. The week passed, they still didn't get the paper. So then I had to cancel the thing, because I couldn't print all of those things on my little photocopier.
Yeah, I didn't mean to take you off a track. It's just that you're sharing such tremendous information every time you're on the show. You turn to these different acts and so on, and I was just wondering if you could direct us, possibly, people that are watching the show, where they could probably obtain it, that we could,
This is the Public Service Act that I'm reading from now.
right.
It's
Service
the
Act.
Public Service Act. If
Right.
anybody want, I can mail it to them or whatever if they're interested, because I have it in soft copy as well. Even though I like the hard stuff, I prefer it on.
Well, you can send all of them to me.
Right.
Thank you.
The permanent secretary is responsible for this ministry, right? That is paragraph 8. That's when the function of the permanent secretary, they're responsible, and the whole set of things they're responsible for. But 10 says that so let me go to 8F. It says 8A, and it says B, B, C, D, E, F. F is generally to create a working environment that is conducive to increase productivity and greater job satisfaction in the public service. So a permanent secretary is supposed to do that. It says, but 10 now goes on to say, notwithstanding paragraph F of section 8, it is the duty of every permanent secretary to ensure that the provisions of any enactment in respect of health, safety, and the welfare of persons at work are observed in relation to the ministry or department to which the permanent secretary is assigned. And there's a little clause with the permanent secretary that says the permanent secretary shall be regarded as having discharged the duty of permanent secretary under subsection 1, where the permanent secretary has taken all actions that are necessary or appropriate in the circumstances. Now we have Leicester Vaughan School and all these clinics and all kind of stuff. The permanent secretary is responsible for making sure these things are fit for human habitation, you know. And if he does not do so, he is failing in his duty. He has to, that is why you see the permanent secretary in health, when we call upon him, he is out front. He is out front to make sure that he get these things fixed as best he can, because he does not want to be caught by in a situation where he say, well, I ain't do all that I can, because I don't expect him to go in the roof and get out the bats. But if he put things in place to do so, then he has been absolved of any negligence or wrongdoing on his part. But the permanent secretary, and what you must do is to insist on them, and if they don't, and you get sick, put the permanent secretary in court. You know, because permanent secretary think that the job is just being glamorous and getting the big bucks. You have responsibilities, and one of your responsibilities is for the safety and health of the officers that work in your ministry or department. All right? There is now, and next thing is discipline I want to deal with. As I said, I'm going all over the place because these are the questions that have been asked of me. There is a code of discipline in the public service. Right? It's set out in the 4th schedule. The 3rd schedule, 4th schedule, I can't remember now.
We're still in the Public Service Act, right?
Yeah, Public Service Act. The 3rd schedule is the code of discipline. Right? The 4th schedule is the grievance procedure. It sets out how things are supposed to be done. And one of the important things it says here on paragraph 4.2, it says, the permanent secretary or head of department shall, within 14 days of becoming aware of misconduct of a serious nature on the part of an officer, investigate the matter. And if the authorized officer is of the opinion that the public interest requires that the officer should cease forthwith to perform the functions of his office during the investigation, the permanent secretary or head of the department may suspend the officer on full pay for the purpose of carrying out the investigation and immediately inform the commission through the chief personnel officer of the suspension. Right? It says permanent secretary or head of department. I have seen in my time of recent when the chief education officer suspended Alvin Bob and Pedro Shepard. And more recently, she has suspended other teachers. She is not a head of department. She is not a permanent secretary. She has no authority to do so. But again, that's when you take people from outside that don't understand the service, don't know what the service is about, don't know the rules, and somebody telling you go do X and the West and do X, when in fact they have no such power. So right now, we have teachers suspended on full pay by a chief education officer who does not have the authority to do so. Majority of the people don't quarrel because you get full pay. But this nonsense has to stop, because when you get full pay, then I have to get a substitute teacher to teach and pay them full pay too. Right? So people must know the extent of their powers.
And then you also have if you don't mind me just adding this in, you also have the challenge of the children being affected, because as you know, children get used to a teacher's style and a teacher-child relationship, and then all of a sudden you have the teacher out, and then you have a substitute teacher in, and then whenever the matter is adjudicated and concluded, if it's done in the favor of the teacher's backward again. So you also have the psychological and educational challenge that the child will be having in the classroom as well, which cannot be measured in terms of dollars and cents.
Right. There is no, there's a number of pieces of not sections, subsections, subclauses and stuff that sets out what the offenses are. under the code, and you can read them. I'm not going to read all of them because there are lots. Absence from duty without leave or approval. So if you, like for instance, I see people walk off the job, and if they do so and they do not have the backing of a union, you are absent without permission, and you can be dismissed. So that is why you see that, because the Trade Union Act protects workers who go on strike at the behest of their union. You cannot dismiss a person, because if you dismiss or otherwise adversely affect the employment of a person who is acting within the instructions of the union, then you have committed an offense. It is only 6 months in jail, so I suppose a few people don't mind going to jail for 6 months, or $1,000, or both. So that is where you can see people on strike, and there's no punishment, because there is a law that says if you punish them, you could go to jail. But otherwise, if you are absent without leave or approval, then you can be dismissed. If in the public service, it is so harsh. No, too. It says conviction of a criminal offense punishable by a term of imprisonment. Now, if you went to jail and you get convicted and you went to jail, you know, and the people in public service find out, you could be dismissed. You know. Then unauthorized disclosure of information pertaining to government insubordination, habitual intoxication or possession of illegal drugs on duty, you know, reporting for duty under the influence of alcohol or illegal drugs, a whole set of things that go on and on and on and on and on and on. Anybody can read these, but there are a set of offenses that are not set out here, but you're still bound by them. There's offenses that set out in the Code of Conduct and Ethics, and which are also major offenses. A major offense is one for which you can be dismissed. All right? And like I'll give you one earlier, which is in the Code of Conduct and Ethics. It says, if you knowingly mislead the permanent secretary of the Parliament, you can be dismissed. It is not in the Code of Conduct, the Code of Discipline rather. It's in the Code of Conduct, so you might not see it if you look in there, because it's not there. But if you lie, you can tell. If you misappropriate public funds and stuff, that is an offense punishable. So I should see some prison officers who teach the people money changing roles at the same location. You know, you're not an officer, but no, you have no, you can't say graduate, but degenerate. If you use that's paragraph 7.2. It's then paragraph 8 says misuse of official position to accept benefits. So if you take $7,500 from somebody when you did your job, right, you can be dismissed from the public service. In addition to it being a crime, that is one of the reasons why I oppose some of the things that they passed in Parliament relating to the integrity bill and the same, because public officers have two different pieces of legislation to punish them for one thing. And I'm saying, so we didn't need the integrity bill for public officers, because they already have legislation that governs them, and you can be dismissed for a whole set of things. Because it says, let me read the section for you. It says, misuse of official position, accept benefits from a third party that might reasonably be seen to compromise their integrity or judgment. So you can be dismissed for that. You know, so if you took $7,500, or you took $7,500 sometime earlier, and then somebody give you another check and that got stolen, you could get locked up for both, because you would have accepted them. Right? But of course, no. We hear that case closed. If you disclose confidential information, you can also be jailed, be dismissed from the public service. And that is paragraph 10. Paragraph 11.2. if you can be dismissed from the public service. I said it earlier, but now I'm sourcing it for you. Report evidence of criminal activity. If you know of criminal activity and you do not report it, you have committed an offense for which you can be dismissed from the public service. All right? And of course, they go on and say absence without permission. This is paragraph 15. And if it says, if you bring your office or yourself into disrepute, paragraph 16. So if you are a public officer and you're going to wear your uniform, you get drunk and tumble down and thing, you can be disciplined. You can be dismissed from the public service for that. A fellow do that should really be helped because he might be sick and he want assistance, but no, he can be thinking. Even I had a case where a young lady come to work and she dressed pretty, you know, and everybody, and the center and the try to discipline her because you must dress soberly. So something as simple as that, you can be disciplined by the service if you don't dress soberly. So you see how rigid it is for a person in the public service. If they give you some tools and you lost them, you can be dismissed. You know, the tools of the work. Now, and if, for instance, you had a criminal offense and you don't tell them anything, paragraph 21 of the same code, you can, I mean, they find out that you had a criminal offense, but you tell them about it, they find out, bam. I had a case where a person and his wife got involved in a little altercation, and you know, domestic violence is a criminal offense. Boy, they dismissed him, you know. And we had a fight to get him back in the public service. Sexual harassment is a dismissible offense. It has been an offense long before we had the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act that governs people in the private sector and the public service. But in the public service, mind you, in the public service and you report sexual harassment, you get victimized, because I know of a young lady who I came to me because she was being sexually harassed by a very senior person in senior position. I complained to everybody. I went as far as the Attorney General with it. And when I presented my evidence, that person was allowed to retire gracefully. But the young lady has not been treated well since then. They refused to give her her correct salary, all kind of stuff. They treated her very badly and they're picking on her every minute. Simply because she dared to stand up and say, thus far, you've gone too far with me, you can't do that kind of thing. They make up stories about she to make her look like a tramp. All these things happen in the public service, and she was the victim, and she's being punished all like now because she didn't let down with a mother older than her father. And as I tell you, I reported the Attorney General, so he knows about it, and nothing is being done to protect this young lady. All like now. And they say unlawful use of the internet or the internet. That's another thing. And also, if you're a public officer and you contribute to newspapers on matters that the government policy or anything like that, you can be also dismissed from the public service. You can write general things in the newspaper, but you can't write about government. So that is why I tell the people, you got stuff you give me, I can talk, they can't fire me. Only the workers can fire me. So don't go out there try to be a hero and then go out and they go out fight to save your job. Give me the stuff. I will use it for you. All right? So when you see public officers, there are people think it is easy to be a public officer. Now what happens, because a lot of the public officers were employed at the behest of politicians, when they run into trouble, they go back to the politicians and the politicians run interference. So that is why the system is not working properly, because political interference is the link in everything in Barbados. You can't get a job in the public service. If you go to the National Assistance Board and to try to get a job cleaning up after old people, those home helpers, you are told to go and get a letter from your MP. And God help you if the MP don't publish and worse yet, if it is, you gonna get a letter from the MP, or you can't get a job at NAB. That is as bad as it gets. So what needs to happen in Barbados is for the politicians to do what they are elected to do and leave the civil servants to do what they are appointed to do, and the civil servants are appointed under the Constitution by the president or by a person delegated by the president to appoint you. However, we have a situation now where the Prime Minister has determined that heads of department should be appointed on contract. That is very dangerous. If you have a head of department who is appointed on contract, his contract is coming up, and the minister has done something incorrectly or done something wrong. Correctly what? They don't call it that. You think he can tell the ministry wrong? So public officers are supposed to be permanent employees, and you can should only be dismissed for misconduct or inefficiency. You know, and so people say that you can't get public officers fired. That is not true. Public officers can be fired and have been fired, but you have to do the doctor justice thing. Give them the opportunity to be heard. Let them represent themselves, or get a unit to represent them, or something like that. It is if you have a case against them and you bungle the case. Well, I represent the fellow, you bungle the case. They say, well, you bungle here, so no, I'm going to use that to vindicate my person. All right, so you can dismiss, you can fire, you can fire everybody. So there are rules to be followed. When you do the wrong thing, you can't expect to prevail. Even in the private sector, and at statutory boards, the Employment Rights Act, if you fire some person, the courts have determined that if you don't follow the procedure, no matter what, you can't assert anything for wrongful dismissal, or unfair dismissal rather, because the employer will have done the wrong thing. So all the employers have to do the right thing. It's in the private sector as in the public service. You have to do the right thing. I am not here advocating to get anybody fired, but if you go and do things, I remember a guy came to see me. He was private sector, and when I interviewed him, I was able to discover that he was stealing. And I said to me, "You don't want me, you want a lawyer, because I'm not going to there and tell lies for you." And he said, "But you can't do that to me." I said, "No, you did it to yourself. I asked you, did you tip the people diesel? You tell me yes, and you sell it to the minibus men. So I said, well, I am not representing you. You're a thief." Mind you, I could have probably gone in there and fight and probably make the employer look like a fool and win the case, but I was not prepared to do that. He acknowledged to me, he told me, yes, he's been stealing the people thing. So I said, well, I find somebody else to represent you. I am not doing it. And people think that I am strange and I'm weird, but I do not tell officers that come to me that you are right when you are wrong. But I am not going to allow people to breach the rules. That is one. And tonight I have decided to answer these questions that I've been getting from officers, especially today when that issue of the prison thing came up, because of people were saying, but you can't blame so-and-so because a certain officer tell them to do it. No, a certain officer can't tell you to do nothing wrong. Remember the Nuremberg trials in after World War II?
Yep.
People were hanged, or hung, or hanged. It is hanged, yeah. Hanged is the past tense for when string him up. People were hanged because their defense was, I was only following orders. No, you can't follow illegal orders. If some person instruct you to do something illegal, report him. And and the prisoners would not be suffering from malnutrition. And we even had the states in prison where they had people teeth were falling out because they weren't getting any vitamin C. All you gotta give a little lemonade and that would have saved the problem. But the deaths were so poor because people were stealing the money to buy the food and not feeding them. So I'm saying if the officers were aware that this thing was they gonna know because the prison's officers feel like they're paramilitary and they're gonna salute and stuff. The senior officers, when the senior officers you do something, you do it and shut up. No, you're a public officer. You are not a soldier. And even soldiers are not required to follow illegal orders. It is illegal to do what people tell you to do, and you can't be covered by saying, "Oh, I know it was wrong, but my boss told me to do it." It is that serious. So follow the rules.
I think what a number of people are having a challenge with is the aspect of the one set of laws for the Medes and one set of laws for the Persians. Because what you're reading is the laws that should govern all of us in terms of how we function. But what we see is that we see a number of persons being brought under justice for violation of the law, but others, I don't know if the correct word I'm using is escape. Persons not being pursued in terms of the breaching of the law, because it would seem that there's a, I think the term Mr. Thorne used some time ago when he was on the show had to do with the scales of justice. The woman who's blindfolded. She sees neither political party. She sees neither color, nothing. She sees simply justice. And I think this is where many people are really having a problem in terms of how we deal with things.
I think I'm running out of time. But what I can do?
You ran out of time. You ran out of time. You ran out of time ever since. Trust me. But I was waiting for someone else to come on. But let me just take a brief moment to welcome Marcia to the show, please. Let's welcome her, and let the loyal opposition know that she's on. Good evening, Marcia. It's such a pleasure to have you join us this evening. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Dr. Ferdinand. And contrary to what the comment section is saying, you look quite handsome in red.
Thank you. Well, I hope people didn't think I was laughing at what Mr. Caswell Franklin was saying. It's just that I was looking at the comments to do with the shirt, and it was just so funny.
They said, I know you didn't mind. You don't mind me coming with it as a comedic thing, because Caswell wants us to laugh, and I love it. Caswell, they said, Dr. Frederick, you couldn't find another color shirt.
I was looking for a yellow one, but couldn't find that.
But the barbers, the party has two colors, yellow and red.
Oh dear, well, I have an orange one though. I have an orange one. I could have worn that one.
But my Bajan, that's my Bajan people for you. They're telling you as it is. But the thing to say,
I just love it.
The way it was written down, it's almost like if you're she saw him on the road, so you could have wear another shirt.
I knew it was going to draw comment, Marcy. I said, when I put it on, I say, there are going to be people who say, boy, that is a Barbados labor party color.
Yes, and somebody says it looks good on you. So I'm telling you, it looks good on you,
yes.
Dr. Ferdinand.
Thank you.
But it's good to be here with you all again tonight. And I'm not sure if Caswell, I was listening to Mr. Franklin's comments, what he was sharing, and I don't know if he was finished, so I just want to say, great to be here, and then back over to you, Dr. Ferdinand.
Yeah, and back to you, Mr. Franklin,
there's
just for you to close off the area that you were speaking
I can finish off this thing because there are a lot of things, but I was just answering questions that would call upon me today, and I said, well, look, let me deal with them, so because I ain't got enough time to do a lecture on the Public Service Act. So the questions that were asked, I noted them, and I said, well, I answered that question, but I'm going to speak to other people because if a fellow asks me, somebody might not know. One thing I finally want to say to you is that if you are disciplined in the public service, you have the right to appeal to the Privy Council, the local Privy Council, the President's Privy Council, not the Privy Council of England, or under this Public Service Act and the Constitution, you have a right to appeal to the Public Service Appeals Board. The problem with the Public Service Appeal Board is that they have not put one in place. I remember when Alvin Bob, they said that he was guilty, so I said, okay. And they said, well, you have the right to appeal to the Privy Council within 21 days. I said, I am not appealing to any public service and any Privy Council, because Privy Council does not hear evidence. You write a letter to them, they read it, and ask a few questions of the officials, and then make a decision on you. I said, no, I want to appeal to the Public Service Appeals Board. Well, that threw the cat among the pigeons, because since 2007, they have not appointed a board yet. The Constitution was amended, and this act was put in place in the 31st of December 2007, and the Public Service Appeal Board came in effect from the 1st of January 2010. But it came in before, sorry, but then they brought some amendment to it in 2010. And I asked them, I appealed to the board. I wrote to the chairman of the board. Not that I had one, but the law says they must have one. So I appealed to him, and I had them stuck. So they tell them, well, we don't know what to do. We're going back to work. We dismiss everything. You know, a real cavalier type of behavior. You know, you're going to follow the law. They should have appointed the board in accordance with the Constitution. But even then, they don't want to do the right thing, because they were absolutely wrong in his case. And I believe now he has them before the court, so the court should give him some compensation for the trauma and the thing that he had to go through, because it wasn't good. As a matter of fact, they defamed him. Anyhow, Freddie, I see Kimar is on, and
yes, he is, and we want to move to his.
So I will give you my time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I mean, as you know, it's always an education, especially with the law, and knowing how things should function in terms of the legislative aspect of Barbados. Listening to you, Mr. Franklin, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure the entire group of the loyal opposition appreciate it. There is, I think Jacqueline had posted a comment to do with
it's online. She says, yeah,
it's online, yeah. But I'd asked her if she could have posted the site where it can be found. So I'm hoping she does that. Well, Marcia, Kid, I'm going to turn to you so that you can manage things through.
Right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, we see Kimar is in the house with us, and yeah, you know, it's always an exciting time when we come together. Every night, whether I'm here or not, you know, I'm on YouTube listening, and sometimes I have my pen and I'm taking notes and so on. But it seems that someone, before Kimar comes, and I asked Dave if he could cue it up for me, but it seems that a few people want that song, Marcia. And
we're gonna try to get it queued up before we go tonight. The song, I'm working on getting that song on here.
Okay,
for you
great.
There are a couple versions. I sent a version to Mr. Franklin that I got this evening, so Mr. Franklin can take a look at that version. But go ahead. We're going to get this
so we wanted to welcome Kimar. We always, have so much to learn when he comes on the show with us. So good evening, Kimar. I know the folk are happy to see you with us tonight, and I know they're anxiously awaiting to hear from you. So I'm going to slip out of the way and just give you, oh, dear me. I'm going to have to get one of those.
Lashes
coming now. Okay. So Kimar, share the blows. My brother, share the blows. God bless you. Welcome, Kimar. Welcome.
Yeah. Good night to you, host, Father Ferdinand. Yes. Good night to the guest on the Marcia show, Marcia Weeks. Good night to you, Caswell. Good night to all the members of the loyal opposition. my favorite people. Very happy again to be here. Um, good thing tonight. I'm not starting with the lashes immediately, but we started with some good news. So I want to be the first man to break the news that the workers, the MTW road paving team, has now been contracted to do some work for the government of Barbados.
That was quick.
Yeah.
The
They-
Ministry of Transport and Works, you mean?
yes, they got the call thing yesterday, and when they went in this morning, they were informed that they'll be giving some work at Suriname and St. Joseph. And it was confirmed to the workers later on today that yes, MTW will not be getting some of the Miller PF action. So thank God for life for those workers.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, but that was record time. But it speaks to the lack of shame of the government, because you mean to tell us that all of this time the government entity that is supposed to be doing road paving, they weren't doing any road paving, but you were giving all of the work to the private contractors. And as usual, somebody had to come and talk them out for them to give the guys work. So I am happy for those MTW workers. So
Yes.
they will give us some extra money to take home for this period. And that is what my politics is all about, representing for those persons who are
Yes.
disadvantaged and getting tangible results. So I want to
Fantastic.
give
Praise
yes. I see Marcia clapping.
God. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So I'm very happy for those MTW workers.
Yes,
I
yes.
know that the persons who are watching, and this is the deputy prime minister. I know she watches all the time. So I want to say if it was her who went ahead and called the shot to get those workers back in the field, I'm glad. But one road is not enough. One road at Suriname, St. Joseph is not enough. MTW can be doing many more roads across Barbados. So go a lot more further and give those government workers some more work so they can get something a little bit more than their flat pay. Right? So tonight I'm going to ease off the lashes and give credit where it is due. But I will say that the government needs to be more. I don't know. You need to think sometimes before you do things. I don't know how you could completely sidestep the government entity that is supposed to be doing the work. But we spoke to corruption. We spoke to kickbacks. We spoke to the fact that governments prefer to do work with private interests because they know that they could go and receive $7,500 checks where they fall short. Right? So we don't want any more of that. So
Maybe the
my
same way they sidestepped the UDC and went to. Just saying. Anyhow.
yes. But I would like to say that the Milan Pave program, however, though, still needs to be accounted for. We don't want another housing situation with this Milan Pave scenario. So I
That's
checked
right.
the estimate. I checked the estimates myself again today, and
Mhm.
the government spends approximately, I think it was $60-something million on road network services, and there's nothing about Milan Pave. You could check the entire Ministry of Transport and Works, and there's no account in the estimates whatsoever
Wow.
for a program called Milan Pave. So it's being done off budget, off books. Hope is being done off budget, off books. Right?
Wow.
And when you have situations like this where you have to look for wrongdoing. We weren't sure that something sinister was happening at Hope, but then it became very clear. It became very, very, very clear that something was going wrong. So I am not sounding any alarms tonight, but I would say we need to pay more attention to that Milan Pave project because it is not included in the Prime Minister's budget. The $700 and some million that she has control over is not included in the Ministry of Transport and Works. As far as I know, it has not been accounted for by the loans because I checked all of the loans today and I haven't seen any loan that specifically spoke to the Milan Pave program. So the government would have had been taking that out of government's permanent surplus, government revenue, and parceling it off. But the same problem I have with the garbage and sewage tax is that you run the garbage and sewage tax directly to water authority, then straight to sanitation. There's no parliamentary oversight over the garbage and sewage tax. There's no reporting whatsoever happening with the garbage and sewage tax. And this Milan PAVE program, the same thing is happening.
But Kieran, when they came to office, didn't they get a loan from the Inter-American Development Bank of $200 million for infrastructural development, and then another one from the Chinese government of nearly $300 million for infrastructural development?
Well, yes, there were some loans. I don't know if it were new loans. I think it were loans that were given to the last administration to do some roads, and they got the money, but they didn't spend it. They didn't spend it to fix the roads. So that, along with you said 300 something, but it's actually 400 and something million dollars in loans from the Chinese Exim Bank to be able to do the Scotland District Road Rehabilitation Project.
Yeah.
And as I said on the last show, when you borrow 400 and some million dollars from the Chinese, along with some, look at Sam Lars. Sam Lars was another 400 and some million dollars plus cost overruns.
Yes.
Right? So when you have situations like that, and I believe that the Scotland District Road Rehabilitation Act, well, not act, but the road rehabilitation, there will be cost overruns in there as well. So when you cannot afford to pay back to the Chinese, they put tolls on the roads. They claim the roads as their own.
That's right.
Hey, so we need to be careful. And I scratch my head to know why so much money is being paid out to fix these bridges, but the bridges on Barbados are not being fixed. There's a road in St. John, Welch, going into Barfland. There's one road in and one road out, right? And if you see the destruction of the road at Welch, Barfland, if there's a hurricane or anything happening at Welch, those people can't get in or out. Right? The road is broken in half. There was a bridge started. I think it was when David Thompson was alive, but nothing has been done on that bridge. So much like in St. Andrew and those places where the road slippage is going on, and when the rain falls, many of the people in St. Andrew and those places cannot get in or out. The same thing is going to happen at Welch, Barfland, and St. John. When the land slippage starts to occur, those people are trapped. The road is so small that the garbage truck, you would wonder how the garbage truck gets into Welch. Right? So, urging the government, I'm happy that the roads have been fixed, but fix some of the roads in St. John. Somebody needs to tell Charles Griffith, paving half of Pothouse Road was not good. Coming on the camera tricking and people saying that you pave Pothouse Roads, and we went to Pothouse Road, the road half done. Right? The road is half done. So this is a message to Charles Griffith and to Santia Bradshaw, the Minister of Transport. Please, I bet, fix some of the roads in St. John. They're horrible. They fixed Cherry Grove Road. They fixed the road to Sherburne, which is leading to the MPs, either to his house or to his daughter's house, and it stopped short right there. They didn't go any further, much like what they did with Caswell. Did all of the roads at St. James up to Caswell's Road, and they stopped there. Right? That is what they do to us. So fix some of those roads. I think some of the roads in St. Lucie were fixed because St. Lucie was fairly horrible as well. They started something in St. Andrew, but we need to ensure that everything is above board, no corruption is happening in the Scotland District.
Well, they've done the road. They've done the road from Groves up by me all the way down to Lower State.
Yes, yeah. I drove on that road today, and that's nice. I saw Kensington Road in the city, Bridgetown being done, New Orleans and the Bridgetown, Nelson Street. And I'm happy for these things. I will never criticize that. But
No.
we require accountability. We
Yes.
require accountability. We need to ensure that we are getting value for the money that we are putting out. So if the road costs 10 million to fix, ensure that it's 10 million and not 12, and not 13, and not 14. And some minister or some minister's friends are getting the kickbacks off the road contracts. But if the government wanted to reassure us that everything was above board, why do you have a mill and pave program being featured off budget? Why do you continue to hide programs like Hope, the best program? There's no account for these programs. You never know what is happening. Right? The Water Authority does not produce financial statements. Right? Hope never even producing financial statements. So the question should be asked: how was the money approved from the Housing Credit Fund at Hope? If Hope couldn't even produce financial statements. Right? Water Authority. How's the Water Authority getting $600 million to upgrade the South Coast sewage plant? And the Water Authority has not even handed in a financial statement for so many years. So how are these SOEs borrowing monies to come through them? And they can't even get, you know how it's done, Pastor Ferdinand? A cabinet paper. All the Prime Minister needs to do is write a cabinet paper agreeing to substantiate these loans, and poof, money comes out of thin air, run through the SOE without any check or balance, without being in the estimates, without being in the central bank report. So all of this money, which traditionally came through central government, is now happening off budget and away from Parliament and away from the people's eyes. And we really need to fix that. Again, I am not crying on the overall mill and pave program. Like I said, I'm very glad that the roads are being done. However, we need that program brought back on the books. We need Hope brought back on the books. We need Water Authority, sewage tax, and all these taxes brought back on the books. So we don't have to rely on people like Clay Maskell, who they said they told us figures were $80 million a month for garbage and sewage tax. But we had no way to verify that, Pastor Ferdinand. Right? So
well, that's the thing running through my mind. Where's the documentation? Where's the evidence to justify all of these? For that matter, I made a note as you were speaking. What are the terms and conditions of all of these loans that we have got? Where's the accountability for a government that campaigned on transparency and accountability? Where is it?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's none, and it's getting worse. And if not for us on the show, and if not for innocent citizens who innocent citizens who continue to raise the alarm about these things, it will soon be a matter of time before the Prime Minister come and deny allegations that wrongdoing was happening in the mill and pave program. But I am not the first person who spoke about it. Anderson Cherry is the person who cracked the ice and said that he was being excluded. And then on top of that, the Ministry of Transport and Works put out a statement, a very damning statement against Cynthia Bradshaw, when she claimed that an upfront mobilization fee was required for companies to be able to get contracts to do the mill and pave program. And the Ministry of Transport put out a statement saying that was an outright lie. Right? That there's no mobilization fee required or whatever. So you see the way in which a minister can verbally put a barrier in place, although it does not exist in law or exist no statute, nothing like that. But the minister could come and make a statement like that. The ministry having to clarify, right? So something needs to be done. How is it that only 2 companies were getting all of the work? $30 million for two companies, right? And then today, Pastor Ferdinand, you can be calling MPW workers saying that you're going to put them back out to work in Suriname, St. Joseph on that road. Come on, man. Come on. So what about all of the other roads that were done? MPW wasn't good enough, but the Prime Minister said, right? The Prime Minister said at one of those Paris speech things that MPW did not have the skills and the capabilities to be able to do
Yes, I heard that.
the work. So therefore, they had to get private contractors worth $30 million, but 35 now, sorry, to be able to do the work. But no, MTW is good enough right now to do something. So you see the hypocrisy in these people. Right?
Kimar, excuse me though, I want to ask you a question. Suriname, St. Joseph, I hear it, but I do not know exactly where it is. But I suspect it is in the Scotland district. And those roads slip and slide. And you're going to give the private sector people New Orleans and down the road and stuff, but you're going to give the Ministry of Public Works the hard one.
But not only the hard ones.
That's the first time the first thing that came to my mind is that, yeah, you're saying, oh, good, the fellas will get some work, but they're going to give the fellas the easy jobs and put the public workers at risk to fail because some of this work is
it's very difficult.
Calls for a lot of engineering, and so you see, it isn't as easy as as nice as you think. They're trying to set them up to fail because they want when these fellas fix these roads. Because let me tell you, I have represented people at MTW, and when people here say, "Oh, MTW people sitting down," and they're doing the work. The reason why they're sitting down, not doing any work, is that they might give them cement but no sand. They might give them marl but no cement. They might give something, or you want these little grits, that do the roads. They don't. So you are there. You don't have the things to do the road with. So and then they say, oh, they're not working. They are set up to fail. So I can watch what is happening with this Suriname thing. They might set them up. Why didn't they give them the ones down the road? In St. Barnabas and stuff where they're going and invading people's properties and building a road on them. Because I received last night, as soon as I finished on the show, some person was telling me by WhatsApp that the people going there and taking up people land and putting roads behind them without acquisition or anything. So that's another thing we got to watch.
I agree. I agree.
The thought that's running through my mind also, Caswell, is that they took them and they gave them a road somewhere down in not so well-known area or travel area or whatever, but they give the others the big highways. They all out there by what you call out there by boarded hall all out that side. No,
but no, you said that, Pastor Ferdinand. There's a section in the estimate which speaks specifically to monies expenditure allocated towards highway maintenance and highway repair and stuff. And that is something completely separate from the Mill and Pave program, Because all of the road works happening in Barbados is not concentrated under that program. You had the Latin American Development Bank, or CAF. When Michael Lashley was Minister of Transport and Works, he borrowed money to do the same Mill and Pave program. So Mill and Pave is not new, right? So Mill and Pave was a continuation. So he had the money, he did a little something, and they just took it up and continued to disperse money to the Mill and Pave. But you have other loans that are active that specifically spoke to roadworks in the island. So again, I cannot direct you to any heading, subheading, or anything in the estimates which accounts for the Mill and Pave program, But they're trying to lump everything in one, leaving unsuspecting people to believe that all roadworks are now concentrated on that program. That is not accurate, So that is where we need to be vigilant to see which part of public funds, in terms of what is accounted for, any estimates or anything like that, which part of that loans or whatever is specifically going to roads. There's a part in estimates which says that the government borrowed to fix about 12 roads, right? So there are a couple of roads that are directly accounted for in the estimate. But that Mill and Pave program, you can't go and read a paper nowhere, Pastor Ferdinand, where it says that the government is going to repair or build 15 roads here, there, anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So until we can see that document,
Yes.
it says Mill and Pave, this is the intention of the Mill and Pave, this is how much money was paid out so far. We don't know who's dispersing the money because it's clearly not being dispersed under the Ministry of Transport and Works. Right? It is not included in the Prime Minister's allocation. So where is this money coming from?
It's a good question. It's a good question. But of course, you know that you can't ask these questions. Otherwise, we are spreading false information.
Well, that's 7,500 reasons why we need more accountability in government.
But that's exactly what I heard. I heard Trisha Watson, is it? Yeah, Trisha Watson, speaking about in the Senate today, the accountability that you campaign on transparency and accountability. And you see that I don't think they've grasped and understood that is what people are talking about. You know, I heard the minister responsible for the Hope Project, Keemar, talking about how the government has not replaced the UDC with Hope. But I don't think that they get to the root of what Barbadians are talking about. Barbadians are talking about $60 million having been spent in Hope. And how many houses? How many houses were produced? Do you have the figure? 450 something, is it?
No, 131.
Oh, no, Kimar. No, Kimar. You mean after spending $60 million?
Yes.
Wait. Well, you know, on the truck on Saturday, I calculated that they had done about 400 and something houses for 60 million at around $485,000 a house. Are you telling me? Wait. Are you telling me this evening? And I want everybody to hear this. Are you telling me this evening, Kimar, that the government of Barbados spent $60 million and just how many houses?
131 partial structures, not even houses, because they can't live in them.
131 partial structures. That
yes.
is yeah, you're right. 458,015,000. And the houses are not completed?
Yeah. Well, that's the problem there, right? This is my concern.
Help us, Jesus, help us.
The National Housing Corporation was shut down. Not because the MSA shut it down, but the IMF did say to shut it down. Or not because the government, you know, the NAC was shut down because, according to Dwight Sunderland, right? Dwight Sunderland admitted that the National Housing Corporation was owed 73, right? The National Housing Corporation owed the Housing Credit Fund $73 million, right? Clearly it was inherited from the last thing. The National Housing Corporation owed Rotterly Construction a couple of millions of dollars, right? The National Housing Corporation owed many vendors a lot of arrears, right? Monies they were supposed to be paying people. However, the National Housing Corporation was rearranged, restructured, set to be shut down because they were at their borrowing limits. Financially, if you look at the books of the National Housing Corporation, they couldn't borrow any more money. Nobody would lend them not a red cent. Right? So they shut down NHC for the reason because it was maxed out. The credit card was maxed out. So they created Hope with the intention of running up the credit card on a whole fresh new entity, you know. And what was dangerous is that the government just wrote off all of the arrears from the National Housing Corporation under the IMF program. Just wrote them off. So there's a $73 million hole in the housing credit fund because the government just slash that 73 million that the national housing owed to the housing credit fund. Right? And they figured they're going to do the same thing again with Hope. Just cut that $60 million off and say, well, you take a loss. Right? And that is where somebody should be brought to justice. Right? So I won't be surprised to find out that they shut down the whole entity again and try to go again, because the same thing they did with national housing, run up the credit card debt, write off. Just say we don't owe you no money. Shut it down. So the creditors couldn't be paid. Rosalie Construction couldn't be paid. The people who paid forward on housings, they couldn't get refunds because the government just wrote off the money. And then try to shut down national housing. As the chairman of national housing, were his responsibility. They don't build any houses. And Dwight Sunderland, I tell you this, man, I really don't know. He should know better, because urban and rural development under the IMF program, they were supposed to be merged. Right? They were supposed to be merged together. And then on top of the merger, right, urban and rural development, the Prime Minister was in control of those ministries all of the time, not the Minister of Housing. And even so, Dwight Sullivan cannot speak to urban and rural because they're not even given to him as a minister. They were given over to William Dugate, not even to him. So he should not even be speaking about what's happening in urban and rural development, because there's not even in his responsibilities. It was never his responsibility. Prime Minister took them for herself. And then the latest reshuffle when she fired Santia Bradshaw, because in the estimates there's an accommodation mark called Dye Ministry. And in Dye Ministry, you have the Ministry of Transport and Works and Water Resources. The Prime Minister reshuffled, she took away water resources. And now, as a standalone ministry, you have the Ministry of Transport and Works. Right? So in that reshuffle where the Prime Minister did that, she transferred urban and rural development from out of her office and put them under William Dugate, not even Dwight Sunderland. So he shouldn't even be speaking. Right? He's Minister of Housing and he can't even build a house. Not one. Has to go to the Prime Minister or has to go to Mr. Dugate to get permission to even build a house. So he is a minister without he's no third. That's all I can say.
I'm just thinking here, you know, we have offered an invitation to the government to come on this show, and I'm almost tempted to say on a point of order, you know, because I heard a lot of things expressed, and I heard some on a point of orders that really were not. They have an opportunity to come here and defend their record. If you feel that we're misinforming the people, come on the show and challenge Mr. Stewart, challenge Mr. Frank, and challenge Miss McLean, and bring your facts and bring your evidence. The show is a open platform, an open forum. We've never stopped them from coming, and this is damning. I mean, I felt that the fact that when Mr. Thorne spoke, there was not a single point of order was damning in itself. But this is equally damning when you're going to suggest to us that we're spending all of this money on a mill program for our roads, and there is no accounting of it. But it's the taxpayers' money, Kimar. It is our money. It is what I get taxed on at the pump and at the supermarket. That's what it is. Don't we have the right to be given an account as the people of Barbados as to how this money is being spent?
Yeah, we should be, but this has been the most opaque government I've ever seen. You can't see through it, but I can see through it. I can see right through it. I can see all of the holes in it. But for the unsuspecting person, if you don't have the information and the facts, you could be misguided. You could be mama guide. I should never
Sure.
say that word, mama guy. You could be mama
Mama
mia.
Guy, why that's Mama Guy, that's a Jamaican thing, isn't it? Or is that Trinidadian?
But I would say Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But I saw a comment. I saw a comment in the chat just now, and I've made this statement, and I understand. I was chastised for it. They didn't call me by name in one of their meetings in St. Peter or something. It's your job. That's what we pay you for. Don't celebrate it. It's got given. This is what you're supposed to do. So don't come out and make a big hurrah about what you're doing. That's what we pay you for. Are you doing your job? And if you're doing your job, at the end of, and I made a comment to the leader of the opposition. Today is what I can't remember. Saturday, I made a comment, Kimar, that at the end of every financial year, a company is required to bring a financial report. At the end of every financial year, expenditure, revenue, what they've
No,
covered,
no,
what projects,
no,
and so on.
not a year, not a year, not a year. Every month, every
Well, they're
state-owned
making it no
corporation
worse.
is supposed to every month, every state-owned under the Public Financial Management Act, every state-owned enterprise is supposed to report directly to the Minister of Finance as to the financial state of the corporation. But now that I have been reporting, this thing, the SOEs, the Ministry of Finance can sanction and bring sanctions against SOEs who do not report financial statements on time. But you never heard anybody being sanctioned because it suits the government agenda to not have those financial statements. Because if we have financial statements for Hope, what was happening now couldn't be happening, right? If today we happen to put the persons who run the housing credit fund on the oath, and we ask them, what procedure did you go through to be approving those loans to the Hope, right? Because the lands at Hope were never conveyed into Hope, They were never conveyed. They had a promise from cabinet. So a promise alone, the housing credit fund is approving loans on just a promise. No financial statements, no letter of comforts, no financial guarantees. They just go ahead, right, Pastor Ferdinand? Any other investment fund in the world, you have to provide the investment prospectus. You have to provide the annual rate of return and some other metrics that the financial officer to run on the project to ensure that the project is viable. First things first, the project could have never been viable because, let's estimate it, the cost of construction for one of these houses were close to $500,000, right? These houses are being sold for $175,000, $200,000, $220,000. So immediately you had a gaping financial hole in which they use the housing credit fund to be able to fill, right? How, Pastor Fred? You don't have to be any economist. You don't have to be good at math or English, right? To be able to decipher that if you're selling a house for $175,000 and you don't got to pretend to kill people either. If you sell a house at $175,000, but this house is being built for $500,000, automatically you're making a big financial loss. So which credit union, which bank, which investment firm would have put resources in Hope, knowing that the financial spread is so wide in terms of losses, and expect to recoup investment?
So that's almost $285,000 loss.
Good. So which company will put money in that?
Yeah. Well, I just say you need to be good in maths and English. But Kimar, I am listening to you here, just shaking my head,
Yeah.
because we
Me
have
too.
been hearing this. It's something being said over and over, just a lack of transparency, opaque. I don't know if anybody, Kimar, if you had a chance to listen to the opposition senator Tricia Watson today. And Kimar, I listened to her and I actually started crying. I know some people say I cried too much, but I cry. Why I was crying? Because I remembered when we did not have that kind of opposition, and people like you, Kimar, would be raising these issues
Hmm.
outside of the Senate or the Parliament, or the House. And here we are, we have them inside there. And an issue, issues, some of the issues that we raised on the show, I heard her raising in the Senate today. And it
That's right.
really, I was happy for Barbados. I cried, not a sad cry, but I was happy for Barbados that a voice could be in there, standing in front of them, Kimar, and speaking. And a voice like yours, the things that all the points you've raised tonight, all the points that Mr. Caswell has raised, Dr. Ferdinand, all of these points that Dr. Ferdinand, you yourself have raised, Maxine, McLean, all of us on the show, to hear them being echoed and
Yes,
being
yes,
carried
yes.
into. When I
Into
heard
the
her
Senate.
talking about the cyber crime bill, and I mean, and all the different things, and now you were able to raise up this issue about the MTW, and by the next day, because they know what the show break gives. They know that this is going to, people going to watch this over and over and over, and it's another thing that they have to deal with in their tail, as they would say. They had to go and fix it today. And so I'm hoping that they're listening, to you. No pun intended there, on hope. And the last thing I want to say, Dr. Ferdinand, because I see Miss McLean is here, is that where I was speaking to Kimar about this today, but Mr. Franklin, some subcontractors have been calling me today. I got 2 calls today of subcontractors from Hope who have not been paid. These are regular Barbadians, owed thousands of dollars that they paid their workmen, and they cannot get anybody, Mr. Franklin. I think I sent information to you. They can't get anybody. They go to the headquarters, they call, they try. The gentleman say, I hope you guys can help us. They have their families to take care of. One of the guys, he has to now bury his father, because he wanted to come on tonight to talk about his situation. Every day, Barbadians, Kima, they're suffering from this hope saga, this hopeless saga. That's what happens when corruption becomes part and of our society, in the fabric of how we do things in a country. That's what happens. The poor, as Trisha Watson says, they are the ones that suffer,
That's
because
right.
this man
That's
had to
right.
take up the money, Mr. Franklin, and pay the workers. He says a lot of the workers, they're non-nationals, so they're not saying a word. This is the kind of victimization that happens in here, and injustice. And this whole project, it's not just that, yes, they can run away and leave the jobs and whatever, but who is going to pay these people? These are some of the issues that we're dealing with, and we're going to get, Kimar, we're going to get some of those subcontractors coming on to share their experience. But Mr. Ferdinand, I see Dr. I see
Yes, yes. I see Maxine is here. Maxine, we want to welcome you. So good to see you. I always am happy when I see you appear on the show. I know we're in for another. What is this class 101? I don't. I
In
know
this
we're
case,
in for
we're
another.
talking about the Appropriations Bill 101.
Okay.
Well, good evening. It
Welcome,
seems as though
welcome. Good evening. Good evening.
some gremlins were trying to keep me off the program because I was using the exact
Link.
code to get in, and it
Uh-huh.
just gave me some 404 something, nothing there, whatever. Then I got in, and then I dropped out again. But I will use whatever time quickly, and I listened carefully, because when I was not online, I was listening earlier to Kimara, and I must tell you, I want to start because you did indicate, Marcy, that I'll be speaking rather about the set Senate session, which is really the debating of the appropriations bill. And the first thing I like to very quickly clarify what we see happening in the Senate as opposed to what normally happens. Very quickly, the Senate does not, as they say, debate money bills. They cannot pronounce on money bills. They can't change them. However, the monies that are agreed to in the estimates and so on have to be legislated. Let me put it that way. And my constitutional and legal advisor in Caswell will tell me if I'm wrong anywhere I am as I go along with Mr. Franklin. So, and when I say that very seriously, because even though he's not an attorney, he knows a heck of a lot
Yes.
more about the law than some persons who would have studied officially and are lawyers. But so what happens is that the bill has to go. It's called the appropriation bill. So after the debate in the House of Assembly, what is approved is a piece of legislation authorizing the government to access those funds from the consolidated fund. And it is very interesting, the plea that Kimar was making just now, a few moments ago, about bringing back onto the books. I think it was the road works, etc. Now understand that if it is not in the coming out of the consolidated fund, or as I say, it's not done below the line, you're not going to see it. So I want to start with a comment or the theme that was used by the leader of government business today, Senator Lisa Cummins. Very pretty articulate, and describing what seems to be very excellent things. But when we start to dig, we see all the cracks and so on, and she's what comes out. And therefore, if it's going to consolidate fund and it goes elsewhere, if it is not accounted, then it doesn't come out or we don't see it. So in essence, I think what she was trying to do was to say, well, these are the things that are happening and these are the things that I expected. I want to ask Senator Cummins as she goes along to tell us for sure that what has gone in is, or in fact, if what we see coming out is indicative of what went in. Because if we look at some of the initiatives that we've been challenging the administrators, the government to tell us, we'd see that a lot of things are not coming out the way they are supposed to. So, if you listen to the, as I said, the leader of government business, Senator Cummins, she would have painted a pretty picture. She sought to heavily criticize the previous administration, but I will not dwell on that. I suffice to say that the citizens of Barbados are now in a position after almost 6 years to make some comparisons between the administrations. But what I'm concerned about, and this is what we've been hearing a lot of what sounds good, but at the end of the day, when held up to scrutiny, we're not hearing a lot. And in fact, that is where I will now segue into speaking about the contribution of the leader of the opposition, the two opposition senators, and that is Senator Watson. And Senator Watson will spend some time looking at the whole issue of several of the shortcomings of government. I think that in looking at her contribution, she was speaking essentially of trying to get an understanding of how it will be covered.
So as sticking for you guys, 1 second, Ms. McLean, is she sticking for you, Caswell? Yes, she is. We can't hear you.
She's stuck all it. No, actually.
Yes. Ooh.
Yeah. She is sticking. Actually, that's why I turned off my camera and mic to see if that would have helped in terms of.
Ms.
You have tons of gremlins tonight. I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. See if you could go out and come back.
I'm hearing you now.
Um, yes, I think just go out. Let's go out and come back in. Let's try that one more time and see how that works.
Marcia, while she is coming back in, I just received a call from somebody from Port House telling me to give a message to Kimar. They said that I wrote it down. It says that the part that they paved now they've intensified the flooding that used to happen up there. Now they get a lot of flooding. People are getting washed out as a result of that paving of the road because they didn't do it properly. So they put some little curbs, and the water just go over the curb and wash out people's yard and all kind of stuff. So that let me let Kmar know. So Kmar, you know, no. It says I don't know. It says on the right side of the road coming down, and in the corner there by the standpipe. I don't know Paul, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just reading back my notes. He said all that flooding and his is flooded. It was flooded as well. So Kmar,
Yeah.
you a business. People complaining to you.
Yeah. Well, I do have a good relationship with the people in St. John, you know. Also, we had our roadside parliament at Gore Hill. We raised some issues there, and we continue to do that. But we next time we have to go to pot house. I'll probably observe and put some footage on the screen for the people of Barbados to see. Probably by tomorrow they're gonna have the road at pot house fixed because they watch the show and do things the next day. So we're glad.
Did I fix mine yet?
Yeah.
I am
Miss-
back. I don't know if you can hear me, Marcia.
We
Yes,
hear you good
yes, we
now.
can hear you. And thanks, Caswell, for that information there. Thank you so much. Yes, go ahead, Miss McLean. You're
Okay.
looking bright and pretty. Let's see how it make you hope it lasts. Go ahead.
Well, let's see. As I was saying, that in following on from the introduction by the senator, the government senator leader, government business, Senator Watson raised a number of interesting questions. I don't know if you were able to capture the clip, Marcia.
Yes, I know that Dave, he has the clip. I'm
Okay,
hoping
but
that
if
he
he
can
if he
play
if
it.
he if he brings it up at some point, we could share it so people can hear. Because one of the critical things, while the Senate in debating will talk around general things, and they don't get heavily into numbers and breaking down what we saw at the process in the House. I think her contribution here is interesting. So if we could hear, um, if that can be played.
Mr. President, there is an absence of an explanation as to where the Barbados in local debt, which is very interesting, and I would
Wow, it's not playing
suggest
well.
to
Okay,
Sorry, not playing well at
taxpayers
all.
that they listen
Not
very
playing well.
carefully.
Okay. You will have
Okay.
to.
Okay. I will speak to some of what she said, because in essence, the question she was asking: how can the government help the citizens of the country to understand how it will meet the shortfall? Because as you know, typically over the decades since independence, governments have used deficits as a means of, or use expenditures, let me put that way, in trying to achieve a number of critical developmental projects, etc., and use borrowing to finance such developmental projects. In order to pay for that, they borrow on the local market, and they borrow internationally. This administration, unlike the previous administration borrowed heavily from the local market, and the main source of that borrowing would have been the issuance of what they call government paper, government bonds, treasury bills, treasury notes, etc. Bonds, for example, were heavily purchased by persons when they retired. Government paper was seen as very safe. It was a conservative way to invest. I personally over many years as somebody working would have bought government paper, bonds, treasury bills, treasury notes or whatever. However, when this administration came into office, they would have taken a decision to restructure the debt. We've heard a lot about that, but from the local perspective, individuals and institutional investors, when I say institutional investors, I mean credit unions, banks, insurance companies, and small companies, would have taken significant losses. The credit union movement, for example, lost about $34 to $35 million in that restructuring. And so the whole attitude to buying government paper has changed. And in fact, one of the key points that Senator Watson made was that prior to coming into office, the chief spokesperson for opposition at that opposition would have indicated to the public that it was risky buying government paper. So there was a campaign against investing in government paper. Now, anybody who studies public finance, or government financing for countries, you will find that there's a continuous turnover and there's a strategy used. So two things happened. One, they were trying there was a concerted effort to discourage people and to make people question the safe, how safe it was to invest in that paper. And then two, having done that, as part of the restructuring, what this administration did from the get-go in 2018 was to say, we're going to restructure the debt, you're going to lose some, you're going to take a haircut. Well, I wear my hair low, so when I go to the barber, there's only so much you can take off before I get scared. So if I don't have a lot of money, so when they start cutting my money, I get scared because I don't have a lot. I'm not Caswell. I'm like Caswell. We don't have a lot of money. So I don't want to mislead people. I don't want to mislead.
Was that a slippery tongue?
No, I was just teasing Caswell, but then I said, let me make sure I set the record straight that we are humble folks who have tried to save our pennies and cents and pennies in the credit union movement for the most part. But so what happened was that you had a two-pronged situation which served to reduce domestic investment, the confidence of the public. And so now the government is saying, well, we're going to go, you've heard them advertise their boss bonds and so on. And as a result of that, the confidence has been shot. I personally, and I like to use myself as a teacher, I often use myself as an example because I tell people I know myself. And in this case, one of the things, I sat my son down when he was a minor, because he wasn't 18 yet, and explained to him about savings, and literally bought government paper and gave to him and said, this is what, and explained to him about saving. But the challenge now is, having gone through that and having seen the special initiative to get public servants, I think they were settling part of public servants that, Caswell, you can correct me if I'm wrong in expressing it, that they were saying to civil servants, public officers, we will pay you part of your salary for some period in these bonds. Now, the question I would love to know is, to what extent did the cabinet and members of parliament participate in that and held on to those bonds for any period of time? Because remember, they are paid by the public purse too. So that was one of the critical points. And so I thought that in looking at that, Senator Watson really highlighted a challenge that this government has. So I would ask Senator Cummins, when she replies, to help us understand what has gone in relation to the impact of the restructuring of local debt and what is expected to come out. Because I know, for example, that there was, and this is a question I would put because the specifics weren't there, but one of the things that I, as a member of the credit union movement, I've been made to understand is that recently, and this, I'm moving away from the Senate now, because the Senate doesn't, they may identify the number, but the details of these things are worked out in committee or spoken to in committee in the House, that the government is looking to raise $100 million for capital works to the hospital. But it is my understanding that an arrangement has been negotiated or is in the process of being negotiated with credit unions. Now, if I understand credit unions, and I've been around them for 41 years, my understanding is that there has to be a process of approving any non-traditional use of credit union funds. But it's my understanding that that $130 million, some or all of it will be borrowed from the credit union movement. Now, this is the same movement, as you would have heard from Senator Watson. She didn't specify the credit unions, but she did talk about domestic investors, this movement would have been burnt and severely burnt by the restructuring. So I think that in listening to that, as I listened to the debate today, it sounds good to hear a description from the leader of government business on all that appears to be happening, all that is proposed. But when it came to dissecting the actual impact of a lot of what has gone into government policy or programs and what is coming up, we're hearing a different story. Unfortunately for me, I was not at home, and I was not on the road in my car to hear much of what Senator Drake said, but I will have to sit and listen, because I think that she is one senator who will spend some significant time helping the public and certainly the members of the loyal opposition the debate. But it is for me occasion. Somebody wrote about a brief, to hear the voice, government voices. Well, we did hear independents and so on, and we did have some opposition one point in time, but it's good to hear an opposition voice again to reinforce the voices other than government. I'm trying to understand. Maxine, that makes sense. We need to know what went in and what came out. And that is it, because for all the transparency and good governance that has been promised, and I heard, if I could, there was I think it was yesterday's program, I heard David Ellis referring to the covenant of hope. And the word hope is coming up again, Marcy and company. Yeah. That, there's been this promise, and it would be good to look and see what's in there. But I think, Marcia, that to me is some of what, and of course, Senator Watson went into a number of other issues, but I think we'll get another chance at another time to speak to some of those.
Yeah.
But Maxine, I don't want to think, but still the show, but you said something that just got me angry, so I want to clarify it.
I hope you're not angry with me.
No, I'm not angry with you, because you open my eyes or ears or whatever I open now. But you spoke to borrow money from credit unions?
That is, I heard that there was a suggestion. There was a special meeting on my credit union. Sadly, I didn't even hear. I didn't see it. I don't know if you saw it. It was a meeting. I was asked why I wasn't at the meeting on Saturday. But the truth is, I had a funeral Saturday morning. But I did not recall seeing a notice for it. But it must have been there. But I don't read the papers every day. But I didn't see or hear it anywhere. But and I have to go back now and research what went on. But that's what I heard. So I put the question out here.
No, Maxine, because Section 200, subsection 1, loans could be made to members only. So unless the government joins the credit union, they can't send the credit union money legally.
But there's also some provision where, that's a loan versus an investment. I know that you can go to the regulatory bodies and where, for example, a credit union wanted to act, they could do that, but they would have to also get members' approval. I would have to go back
They
and,
have
you
to
know,
get members' approval, and also there is a limit. The
right,
amount of
as a
money is related
percentage
to the
of,
statutory reserve that you have.
right.
And you cannot go and just target credit union because credit union might have. People don't understand credit unions. Credit unions don't got a lot of money.
They don't have a
When you
lot of
see,
cash lying around. They lend
you
out the
see
money that they receive.
credit unions, when you see all these assets and things, the asset, the biggest asset of credit unions is the loans, the loan portfolio. So when you say we got $1 billion, that's $900,000 that lent out. You don't got the money.
That is no, but that's a serious point. You see, because the other point that I will make, which is critical to that as well, is that when, as much as the credit unions have done well in mobilizing resources, they still do not account. And I'm going to be generous and say between 10 to 15% of total domestic savings. So in essence, it is not, there's a lot of money out there elsewhere. That's the key point I'm making. You know, for every dollar, I would say, of credit union savings, you know, in terms of domestic savings, there are probably let's say $9 out there somewhere else in the banking.
Wow.
It is
Miss
a
McLean,
concern, but I
for
put
me,
that
I
there.
don't know. One second. I don't know if it's just me. Is it my internet? It's difficult to hear and understand Miss McLean. It's just breaking up a lot. Is it just me?
You are breaking up as well, Marcia.
I'm breaking up. Oh,
Yeah.
it's me then.
Yeah, I'm hearing her very well, and I'm seeing her quite well. Periodically, she freezes, but and every now and again, her voice, her audio does drop out. But most of the time, I'm
I think
hearing
we
you and
all
seeing you
freezing
quite
a
well.
little bit. We're freezing
Yeah.
just now. I'm hearing Pastor Ferdinand, but just now his image was frozen as well. So what I might just do is turn off my
Yeah,
camera
I'll try turning off my camera too,
and see
so
what
that see if it will
happens.
help. Yeah.
You know, so it's a bit unstable, but we've been having some challenges in my neighborhood with flow ever so often the last couple of weeks. I don't know, you know, what else is happening, but this seems to be something of a problem. Are you hearing me now, Marcia and others?
Yeah. We're hearing you. We're hearing you good and clear. I've been having some
Where's
problems this
Marcia?
afternoon as well.
Marcia.
I think she's trying to get back in.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Probably it's my internet.
Well, my internet problems are not um, real. Somebody pulled down or popped down or something happened with the cell lines in front of my house. They just all I actually take them and put them aside there and leave them there because when they popped down my things, I got flow. so I'm very sorry.
But Caswell, you were making the point that we probably need to ask our credit unions to tell us whether this is a mere rumor or if there has been an approach. If there has been an approach, what are they going to say to the membership? Because we still operate on the Cooperative Societies Act, which is very specific.
You know, these people will change the act. I don't trust them.
But we haven't
Because
seen
that
any
act has been
proposed
tried
changes
and
yet.
tested. And you can't get your hands on credit money that easily. And I am no. If you're going to go any extraordinary investment, it has to come for the members to approve. It is not like buying a car for the CEO or something. So if you're going to spend the credit money, the members have to be aware of it. You just can't take credit money and spend it like that. You got to call a general meeting. So I can be there.
Well, let me also say this. I mean, because that's the one side. The other side I heard, because remember, of course, we have the other side is that the payments, because I did listen to the minister. He didn't identify the source, but before the estimates, I had heard rumors of this, and of clearly when we look at the options for cash, as you said, there are several things, and I am not going to blanket say no. I say this one. There are processes that have to be followed and cannot be short-circuited. But two, given the severe constraints in terms of options, that if the government were paying a proper interest payment, and payments are guaranteed in a way that should eliminate, I'm not even going to say minimize, that will eliminate the risk of having a situation like what occurred in 2018, where the credit unions lost significantly because what was told to me is that the proposal, if that is there's such a proposal, is that the loans will be serviced by the levy. Now, the question therefore would be, and if I were sitting as in a capacity as I did one time as president of my credit union, a member of the board or supervisory committee, I would say that it would have to be an arrangement which specifies timeframes within which. So in other words, in the same way that VAT receipts are supposedly paid by a very specific time in relation to receipt, and that, that there have to be a whole set of other things. But I put it out there for as a rumor, but the nature of the rumor is such, and the fact that I did hear the Minister of Health speak about $130 million loan and it being negotiated. And as I said, prior to the estimates, before he said so, I had heard rumors to that effect. So I would ask my credit union and the others to talk to us as members.
Maxine, the last time the credit unions lent money to the government, because when you buy government paper, really you are lending the government your money. The government, this administration came into office and wipe out a lot of that money that they owe the credit unions. I will not trust them with a red cent of money or blend. If I run the credit union movement, I don't think that we can trust them because you don't know what they will do. As you said earlier, government paper used to be safe. People used to say, okay, well, you're not going to get the massive interest payments, but you're going to get back your money in the end. So you take the government paper, you got small. It's not like you go out there and invest in something and get 50% interest, that kind of stuff. You won't get a government paper, but at least when you go for those with the big ones with 50%, you might lose. But we always knew that when you put my government paper, you're not going to lose your money. You get the interest, and the people carry the money. You cannot trust this government with your money. And any credit union board that goes into arrangement with the government to lend them money, I will be there trying to get them out of office. I will be signing the top of the petition to get the signatures to get rid of them. You cannot trust this government money. You can't believe them. You mean to tell me you want to play with fire and you get burned and you can go and play with the same set of fire again? You ain't got any sense?
There are several kinds of things. I mean, let me go back to this big one that we've been talking about, Hope Inc. Why and something that was said, Marcia and colleagues. I think it was Minister Sutherland. In fact, I taped him this morning on the news so that I remember what he says. If I have to I could go back and listen. But he was talking about the hope, and he said that there's no truth to the notion that efforts are being made to dismantle the National Housing Corporation. But with a plan to build 10,000 houses, you need to have some entity that will build houses. Now, I was going to ask him, if that were the case, I presume that you want to have a plan that would build houses in quick time and so on. But in fact, what my thinking is that you have number of contractors. Marcia mentioned having some of these persons who are subcontracting. Can't they themselves be building houses? Because at the end of the day, who's going to buy the houses? The people who belong to credit union movement. And some of the same contractors are probably members. Why couldn't government enter an arrangement where people could get to buy land, have some, arrangement where the houses can be constructed. You can even give them designs and all kinds of things rather than because my question is, are we going to see houses all looking alike, or are we having multiple options in terms of design, method of construction and all kinds of things, So there's so many questions that these things throw up that, so I go back to.
There's a question here. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we
Yes,
you
I
can.
can hear you.
Yeah, hear you good and clear.
Someone is saying, which is a fair question. They're asking if they're saying the international banks are trusting the government. So what are you guys saying? Why shouldn't people trust the government? The international banks, I guess the people. I think they're trying to say that people are lending the government money. From international sources. Is that what they're saying? Oh, so why
Which
can't
international banks?
I'm asking
The,
Caswell the
the, the
question.
government is not borrowing from international banks.
No.
The government is borrowing from development agencies, the IMF for the most part. The Development Bank CAF is that, yes, Barbados joined prior to this administration. That's a regional bank in Latin America. That's pretty much a development bank kind of thing, but you're not borrowing from the international bank chains. Well, I believe that the one that I can remember, which is the local branch of, I think it was First Caribbean, bought $100-and-something million or something, so in government paper. But outside of that, the government is not borrowing from international banks. It is
That's the
borrowing
money
from the
that First Caribbean get from the government from national
IDB
insurance.
and CAF. Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
Go
national
ahead,
insurance
Caswell.
money that they
I
get.
think it was something that you said because he mentioned sir. So he's saying, sir, what are you saying? Because you're saying you can't trust the government, but he's saying international banks are so Caswell.
I just
Caswell,
explained that, Marcia. I just explained that we are not borrowing from international. When I hear the word international bank, I am thinking of the private banks across Europe, North America, UK, or whatever. And if we think of the local branches of international banks, um, you know, so, but where we are getting funds from now is the IDB. Those are what they call, those are loans for specific projects and so on. You're getting money from CAF, which is a Latin American development bank. I would equate it to something like the CDB. But the reason why, and let me say to the person, the reason why I am skeptical is because I lost money twice as an
I think that's
individual investor.
that's the answer they're looking for. Go ahead.
As an individual investor and as a member of the credit union movement, where $34 million was lost across the movement. I belong to the second largest credit union. So money that would have been available when they received the interest and so on from the government bonds and treasury bills, etc., to pay me dividends was unavailable. So I lost twice. And so that is the worry. I ain't get burnt once, I get burnt twice.
And Miss McLean and everybody else, somebody sent a message here that says, "Good night, ma'am. Can you get Mr. Franklin, Miss McLean, or one of the other guests to address the bonds?" So this was sent in earlier tonight.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
interesting that you mentioned it. So this is for that listener, the viewer who is not sure why we're saying don't trust the government. This gentleman who's a Barbadian, he sent his name and number. He says, government bonds, address the bonds which were sized as part of the debt restructuring that were supposed to have been paid back by the central bank, up to $17,000. The people's principals were taxed and they did not even get their interest payments. Please help. He's one of those that have lost. So that's why, because this person wanted to know why. So that's why there are lots of people that are out of pocket right now, have lost
But
money.
the other thing I would like for the government to tell people, or the central bank, which is managing that portfolio of investments, to give Barbadians an up-to-date statement on where they are. In other words, people were given a list of, a repayment schedule and so on. I think one of the things that happened, and for persons like myself who would have been pensioners at the time. I think when the government realized the significant damage that would have been done to a number of pensioners, I think they reversed part of the position in relation to bonds. And so some people, I think they excluded some of the categories of investments. I think if I remember correctly.
Yes, that is correct. Because I raised it in the Senate, and I brought actual examples from people who wrote to me. And one woman told me that she will get back her interest when she reaches 117 years old. And I made that thing, and that's when they start making shifts to it, because
Yes.
they didn't realize, they didn't work it out to understand the
They
damage they were doing. They just wanted to stop you from getting your money. They didn't care how it hurt you. And a lot of
did.
that money were people who got their gratuities and were going to live off the interest from it, because you're not going to get that other money after that again, because you're not working. And that money was supposed to maintain them in their golden years. Government stole that from
Precisely.
them.
Yeah,
And they
You're
call it
Casper,
correct.
I would
stealing.
like to add something. I wrote about this extensively in Alternate View, where I said that the type of debt restructuring that the government did in terms of restructuring treasury bills, this only ever occurred in Russia, Ukraine, and Uruguay, where a government would just unilaterally restructure and cut the financial losses of their citizens, and by force too, right? Substantially reducing the upfront amounts and postponing the principal and interest payments to have some bonds that were 5 years, have some bonds that were 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. So we have people who have to wait up to 20 and 30 years for repayment of bonds because the government restructured on treasury bills, right? And it didn't happen that many times in the world. So Barbados is actually the fourth country in the world to ever do that. And as we know, Russia has a different type of governance. Ukraine, this is part of Russia. Uruguay, financial collapse. Right? So it was not an ordinary debt restructuring. And what they did that was so wicked to the people of Barbados is that they went ahead without the numbers, and then they put something in the debt restructuring bill called a collective action clause. And this collective action clause said that only 75% of creditors need to agree to the debt restructuring for it to be legal. And you had a situation where 4 organizations own 75% of the government debt.
But that is absolute rubbish. Because if I have a contract with you, nobody else can agree to vary the terms of my contract. So when they said that, they were lying to the people. And unfortunately, we have a lot of lawyers in Barbados who refuse to challenge the government on it, because, first of all, money is property. You cannot take up my property without compensation. You will not compensating me for my property. If you take up a piece of land, you got to pay the value of the land. If you take up $100 from me, you got to give back $100. Check the Constitution of Barbados. And nobody was willing to stand up to the government, because all of them were seen to be afraid of McGuffey. That is the problem. You cannot legally take up people's money, because the law recognizes money as compensation for property that they take up. Now, if the property is money, how are you going to compensate people with money when you just take it up? Because you got to give back fair value. Fair value for $100 is $100. So it was illegal, unconstitutional to do so. And nobody stood up to it. And then one person did it, but I don't know what happened with this case. It probably wasn't argued properly or what have you. And it should have gone all the way up, because there's no way that government could cheat you and get away with it like that, because there was no provision for it. And a lot of people lost money, and they didn't get the kind of help. And a lot of them were afraid to stand up for themselves. Not a collective clause. If I have a contract with you, me and you got to vary our contract. Nobody can vary it for me. So that's 75%. That same nonsense that they tried when they were saying, but if a certain amount of people at the hospital sign the data to go over the board, then you will go everybody thing. And we said, no, that can't work. A contract is individual. You didn't go into the deal with anybody, the collective contract. Mind them of that nonsense. That's dishonest.
Don't forget that they also passed the debt settlement bill, and they agreed that if the government owes you any type of money, that the government could pay you in bonds. So if you had a legal claim, you sued the government and you were in a court case, they were paying you in bonds.
They
Um,
can't pay you in bonds. They got to pay on legal tender. Bonds are not legal tender in Barbados yet,
but
and
that that
and they're getting away with it because
but
nobody
that's the
will stand up.
legislation.
That you can put anything in a law, but the law doesn't necessarily mean it's legal. That's when you got courts to decide if the law can stand. You must pay me in legal tender. That is what you see here in provisions of the Protection of Wages Act, that they have amendments to that act that is ongoing now, that they're going to soon present to the people, where they're saying that this cyber money and thing, they kind of call it money, this chain that Brother Adams is coming up with, those kind of things could be legal tender. Because it has to be legal tender first before you can pay with it.
Yeah.
It's not legal tender. A bond is not legal tender. Unless you put that in the law that says bonds are not legal tender, you can't pay with it.
No,
Yeah.
they forced that bill on people. They have people with medical claims, people who had medical injuries, and the government robbed them of getting back their money to pay them in bonds. And they said that the bond payments were not even coming the same time; they were postponed till later. Right? So you had
No,
medically injured people who couldn't get money, people who had legal claims who couldn't get money. If the government took your land, they would have did with Miss Ram, and the government owed you money for your property, they paid you in the junk bonds.
look, but worse yet, some people from Liat contacted me to say that the government had promised to give them a certain amount of cash and bonds. They may get the bonds yet. So at least those people got bonds. The Liat people
Yeah.
don't get none.
But guys, it's 9:58. But this
Oops.
yeah, 9:58. We need to, quite interesting what we're talking about, and I think one of the things that as I'm reading the chat that is really concerning a lot of people is the credit unions. They want. I think we have to find out if this is a rumor or if it is true. We have to give ourselves that homework to find out, because I heard there was something that Senator Trisha Watson said today, about trying to, or she was asking the question: are they trying to go after the savings of people? So
Yeah, I heard that.
we need to look into that and to see how serious that is, so we can bring the truth to the people of Barbados. I think that is important. Well, it's 9:59. We're going to close. I wanted to say something real quickly. You remember that the Prime Minister had said that there were some rates that are going to increase, that there are no taxes, increasing taxes, but that there are rates. And somebody sent me a letter here, or a document talking about rates on medicine, on yeah, medicine, on medicine. So it's something that we need to take a look at. I just want to read a little bit of it because it's concerning this particular person. Let me see if I can just read a little bit of it here, of this letter. It says increasing beneficiary fees. The Barbados Drug Service has announced that from April 1st, there will be an increase in the beneficiary fee for certain prescription items dispensed at private participating pharmacies under its special benefit service. And for example, um, they're saying that some drugs are going to move from $5 to $7, from 7 to 10, from 12 to 14. And so the question is being asked: is this one of those rates that the Prime Minister mentioned in the budget that will increase? That there are no new taxes, but that rates will increase. So this is something for us to look into for the next show on Wednesday. But as usual, we like to give everybody a time to just to give their final comments. So Kimar, would you want to just to say your final comments tonight to the viewers before we sign off?
Have a great show as always. They always have a good time sharing with you. Yeah, first Pastor Ferdinand early out the block, and then we all got in. I learned a lot from the people, but most importantly, I just want to say thank you to the people on the show again for taking your time to come on, to listen to me, to listen to us. Without you, what we're doing is not possible. Um, Thank everybody again who came to the march. I hope you continue to listen to the Senate, continue to support the opposition leader, continues to support the program, continue to support us as we are here representing for the people. Look how the MTW Road Paving Crew is getting work now, right? So I want to end by saying I am extremely happy as it was raised on this show, but it's unfortunate that we have to be chastising and whipping these people into line, right? I think they need to be more responsible and more accountable to the people, and we need some further answers on this Mill and Pave program, and we also need to keep our eyes on this hope thing as well. And I hope that the opposition senators will continue to ask the hard questions because the people need information and we need better levels of transparency. So thank you.
Yes, thanks, Kimar, and we're grateful that you were able to join tonight. And any night, every
Oh
night
yes.
you bring
yes.
something special. And thank you so very very much, Miss Maxine McLean. This is one powerful woman you see here. She comes on here smiling and behaving all diplomatic, but let me tell you, she's a fighter.
Did I understand Kimar to be saying that the MTW crew has finally gotten to do some work?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
so maybe that is why, according to Senator Cummings, that she was driving on some roads, and to use her words, they were smooth, 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 so that they're delivering. Well, that's good to hear. I just will reiterate to our listeners that we go there and research these things because we want the best for Barbados at the end of the day, and to bring some laser-like attention to issues is to, as you can see from what Kimar said just now, to get many of them addressed, or certainly to put them on the front burner in relation to the public understanding why things are not the way they are, or to get government to act. And that is our intention. And so thanks. It is a lot of hard work that people like Kimar and Kazu put in. Marcia, of course, and Dave. And I keep having to mention Dave because he's in the background, in the engine room, keeping things going. But to do something like this, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's a lot of work. We don't just come
It
here and
is.
talk off the top of our heads.
It is,
We do
yes.
research, then there are the technical aspects of it. So thanks everybody, but we made a commitment. This is about us giving to Barbados.
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLean. Dr. Ferdinand, who did such an excellent job at hosting tonight. Thank you so very, very much. Wonderful. And you're looking, don't mind it, you look quite handsome in your red shirt. But what do you have to say to the people before we
I'm almost tempted to focus on my red shirt, but it was just so hilarious to read all the comments about it and all of the reflection on my visage and everything. In truth and in fact, it's an LED light. Okay, so, but no, quite seriously, I think we have a concern in terms of how government is handling its financial matters. I think this is very, very serious, and I really want to say how much we appreciate each one of you that brings it out from what you present. Ms. McLean, Kimar, Caswell, bringing out the whole aspect of the monies that are being used and the accountability for it. Someone mentioned about the trust, if the international banks trust. And I was glad that you addressed that, Maxine. In the International Monetary Fund of the World Bank, we only get money because we meet their conditions. If we did not meet their conditions, we wouldn't get a blind cent. And one of their conditions is sending home people, cutting government's expenditure, generally by cutting its staff, so to speak. So it's not a matter of the international agencies, even in that case, trusting the countries that the country has got to meet the requirements. And just like anybody going in for a loan, I mean, people think that it's a big thing in terms of a big different thing, but in reality, you have to meet the conditions, and the conditions are often to the detriment of the country, and that is the end game there. But I want to thank so much, Marcia, the loyal opposition. And I really want to voice this because without them, this show would not have the impact that it is having, and encouraging them to share. And thank those that turned out on Saturday. I think Saturday was one of the largest marches that we have had to date, and very successful ending, in my mind, in Independence Square. And I want to thank all those people that turned out to make it a success. And that really is the majority of what I'd like to say.
Yes. Thank you. And General, what do you say to us tonight before we go?
Well, I want to give you some good news. Today, this morning, there was a meeting of the staff at Leicester Vaughan School and the board and the ministry at the Labour Department. They attended the meeting as well. So the result is that the staff is not allowed back. Not allowed back on the school compound. They actually met at the Duncan Moore Center, which is the church hall of the Sherwin Moravian Church. The Labour Department actually pointed out to them that they can't issue the threatening letter that they did, that we put in the paper. The only thing the most that they were concerned about is that the workers should have come to them first, meaning the board, instead of going to outsiders. Me being the outsider, they were terrorizing those people, threatening them with letters, threatening with dismissal, and they came to an outsider. Now the board is threatening you to dismiss you, and you go back to the board and say, "Well, I'm gonna go back to you and complain that you treated me badly."
That's a joke.
But the thing is, I don't pay any mind. The thing is that the workers had a good outcome. What will happen?
Yeah.
They will deploy them at other schools, and they will only go back on the school compound when the ministry gives the all clear. But so far, there's been no work on the school to remedy the problems. It is really bad. It can kill you. But thankfully, my people are out of there, and let's just call this one for unity.
Yes.
Good night.
Congratulations. Folks, good night. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everybody. Paul, Messiah, Rose, 511, King J, Pedro, Gemma, Hurricane Writer, Natasha Hope, Chesterfield.
Adrian.
I can't call everybody's name.
Albert Benjamin. Oh boy.
They're calling. If you're calling, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I was just backing you up and supporting you.
Okay.
The Adrians and the Alfreds and all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you all for watching tonight.
You.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks to all the viewers, and have a great night. See you on Wednesday. We have something coming up for you, but we can't announce it just yet. Okay?
Yep.
So just wait, but we have something great coming up. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye-bye.